Hi, everybody. I'm too low. I'm too low. I'm already distracted. I'm too low. Look at me. Way too low. I'm like, hey, guys, what's going on up there? You guys up? Where's the chat room? Chat room up there? I'm too low. I have to explain. Welcome to the Rant. I'm Pugs Moran. We do this rant, current events, hot topics, social issues, lifestyle stuff. Talk radio, the way I believe it was intended to be. Talk radio for normal Americans every day, Monday through Friday, beginning, let's just say in the noon hour, since 2021, every day. I'm too low. This is going to drive me nuts today. But you know what? This will be the lowdown show. Because I ain't going to get obsessed with it. Here's the deal. Recorded some shows this weekend. Did some things with the studio here at the Kelly Moore Memorial Studio is really coming together. I need to get a big prominent picture of Kelly, and I know the picture that I want. But that's got to be like a big framed picture of her because she would hate that. But I'll pick a good one. I went through a lot of pictures of my former partner, Kelly Moore, when she passed away a couple of months ago. And so it was funny because it's like, in death, I'm like, wow, okay, I see it now. Yeah, she was kind of hot. She was pretty. I get it. Like all my friends were always like, dude, Kelly's so hot. I'm like, no, she's not. What's wrong with you? What do you mean she's hot? So anyway, big picture. I'd like to get a nice big prominent picture here in the new Kelly Moore Memorial Studios. But it's built so that it can be a recording studio for any number of things, just straight podcasting with microphones and tables and stuff like that, like we did yesterday with CC. The sports bras came by, CC and Keith. He's the around these parts, he would be kind of like the teller of the Penn and Teller madness you get with the sports bras. He's a little quieter, a little more subdued. I didn't know him. Cece, we all know. Bigger than life, Cece. Friday's executive producer. So they came by and we recorded some stuff. Not going to be released. We're just working on some stuff. We're having some fun. We're seeing, trying to build a crew, if you will, of people. We'll be inviting other people around. And look, I don't want to get too far down the road. Needless to say, the studio had to be rebuilt this morning. And now I'm too low. I'm like way too low. Got a new background picture. How do you like it, Lady Liberty? Yeah. Give us your tired. That's it. I got nothing else. Give us your tired. Actually, don't give us. You're a liar, lady. You're a bait and switch. That's what she is. That's what she represents. Where was I? I need a picture of Kelly for the studio. Oh, I'll show you a picture of how one of the setups looks. I don't know if you follow me on Twitter at Pugs Moran. Here's how you find me on socials. You go to Google, right? And you just say Pugs Moran, and they all just come up. So then, you can go to, if there's an Instagram, you'll find it. It's that easy. I'm so tired of going, no, it's at Pugs and Co. on Twitter, Pugs Moran on Facebook, Pugs and Company also on Facebook. You can do that one too. Radio Misfits, of course, on Facebook. A Blue Sky, I'm Herman Walkerstein for some reason. I don't know. I think it was randomly generated. Just Google search Pugs Moran. Yeah. Anyway, on Twitter, if you do already follow me, I showed one incarnation of the new Radio Misfit Studios yesterday. Look at that. I think that looks great. Colorful. That's what I wanted. I want colorful. Although some of my fellow streamers, fellow creators, it's so funny. Creators are so weird. All of my, not all of them, but a couple of them have, not publicly, because you don't do this publicly. Yeah. But you slide into DMs or whatever. A couple of them have gone, yeah, man, that looks really great. Congratulations. And they do it privately because in the creator community, we're all building our studios from nothing, right? And so we got to encourage each other. You got to be like, man, your back looks great. I know the casual viewer doesn't give a shit about it, and it's like, that's silly to worry about it. But for creators, it's like, yeah, we're trying to make something that pops, something that people want. Here's what the idea is behind this room. This is a room, as you can see, set up for people to come by, sit down, and just talk. This is not set up for video. This is not the video setup. This is the, let's get into some shit, man. And I have to tell you, inspired greatly by what Mike Reiner's rocking over there at Your Dark Companion. Check that out. Stolen Water Media. They got such a cool, I've been lucky enough to do his podcast now 2 times, and both times I've walked in there and gone, all right, my studio sucks. So we had a good time this weekend. We did some things, got a very malleable, is that it, studio that we can do all kinds of things for. Look, I mean, it looks nice though, right? Like, hey, guess who apparently has an eye for design? That's not true at all. You want to know the story with this? Want to know, because it does look coordinated, doesn't it? I mean, it's, the colors are good, and look at the chairs are all matching, and this is just all stuff that E had. Like, you know, E's got like a storage where, like, yeah, I bought that furniture back in 1990. He's just got a whole bunch of this stuff, and so we're now using it for sets. So this isn't even like cheap stuff. This is like real expensive, fancy art guy furniture that we're getting to, you know, pick through. So that's thank you to the E Gallery for all your gallery needs, and everybody else who helped. Also Cece and Keith from the Sports Bras. So thank you guys. That's one version of this is another version. This is like more for video, but we've got another room. I don't want to get bogged down in the weeds, but thank you to all the people who said nice things. Oh, it looks nice. Thank you. You're all, look at you people in the chat room right now. Radio Misfits. All right, so that's the boss. If you're in the chat room right now, that is the boss, and the boss has said, let's set up those lights I sent. And we have this extremely cool, like really great lighting. You know, I obsess on lighting. This really great lighting ring. I don't know how to do it. I've spent hours literally going, I don't know how this works. I don't even know how. So, Ed, if you were looking for a reason to come on down, justify a cross-country trip to Dallas, it's to help the idiot set up the lights that you were so kind enough to provide for our Radio Misfits Kelly Moore Memorial Studio. Also, we need, Ed, I know you're down with me. How do we just get like a big picture of Kelly? Like, it can be cool and it can be framed, or it can just be like, I kind of want a version of like a 1980s kid's bedroom poster. Like, I would like to get like, because she's taken some sexy pictures. Like, I want to get one of them. Like, she did glamour shots. I want to blow up one of Kelly's glamour shots and hang it in the studio. I think that'd be funny. And it would make her upset, not really upset, because inside she'd be like, yeah, I look damn good. There was a time. Like, there'd be a part of her that would like that, but also it'd be like, no, don't. So, and as you know from listening to this show, since the passing of my former partner Kelly Moore, I have been at all out war with the spiritual world. She is just fucking with me relentlessly. Did you guys hear about what happened the other day when our roof blew off? Oh yeah, our roof, for some reason it wasn't even that windy, and all of a sudden there's a thing on the roof to the building that I live in. And it's on this chimney. It's like a chimney lid. What do you need a chimney lid for? But apparently it came loose and it just blew off at like 8 o'clock a couple of nights ago. It wasn't even that windy. Blew off. Now, here, what do you see this thing too? I'm not kidding. This thing is huge. This thing went flying through the air. It could have killed somebody. It didn't, of course. It fell harmlessly in the front yard. Didn't even hit a bush or anything. Just fell harmlessly in the front yard. Why? Because, as I said, I'm pretty sure Kelly's behind it and she's not malicious. But here, check this out. Look at this thing. See this? See, that's the size of it. Those are chairs. That's the size of the piece of metal that just blew off the chimney. And that's where it landed. Right there. I don't know. Kelly. I'll get her back. I'll get her. You know, as I say, I'm at spiritual war. Or I'm at war with the spiritual world. What else do we got? Let's say hi to the chat room, some of our people. Sports Bros are there. There they are. Of course they are. Radio Misfits is there. That's good. Leslie C. Hold on. I got to go back. I apologize for the delay, but I spent like 15 minutes trying to figure out why I couldn't hear anything before I realized that I wasn't plugged in. Yeah, that's the level of technical expertise that I'm at. You'd think I'd be better after 3 years. I don't know. We got Taronda, of course. We got Jen. We got Barney. We got Byron. We got Rady. We got Kev. Oh, boy. Okay, let's get started. What do you say? This is the Rant. It's talk radio for normal people. Normal people meaning, just you're not trouble. You got some shitty opinions. All normal people have shitty opinions. I've got shitty opinions. Stick around. You'll hear a whole bunch of them, I promise. But, we're able to just be like that with each other. That's who we are. That's who this talk radio is for. It's not for, well, then get out of this country. We need to lock them all up. It's not that. We don't care that much. Those people are weird. The rule of 70%. The show is for the 70% of America that doesn't belong to the 15% that occupy both crazy partisan political wings of this country. 15 on the right, nuts, gone forever. 15 on the left, gone forever. 70% of us are left. That's who this show is for. And we try to give you a version of talk radio that I don't think you can find anywhere else. It's conversational. It's more about who we are specifically here in this place, in this community, than, screaming about a congressperson from a state 2,000 miles away who has nothing to do, who is, that's what we do here. Talk radio for normal Americans every day, Monday through Friday. That's right. Can't say we didn't try. When this whole damn thing ends, you can't say that we did not try, because we did. Talk radio for normal Americans every day since 2021. How does the show work? Well, it's a stream of consciousness. It's just me talking. It's a weird psychological mindset that I have to get myself in, where I convince myself that complete strangers are even the remotest, are even remotely interested in what I have to say. But that's what I do. I just talk. No breaks, no stops, no nothing, no interruptions. Whatever is next in my head, I just let it fly. Sometimes that could be problematic, but I'm an otherwise decent person. So, I'm not going to say anything that's intentionally mean to people. Although I got to be honest, I've been getting a little more comfortable with some of my edgier thoughts since the election. It seems like we can do stuff now. We can do stuff that we couldn't say before. Like, I can go back to talking the way I did when I was 16. No, actually, that's probably not good. We're not there, and we should never go back to there. When I was 16, I was a member of the Bad News Bears. I was just, we all were. So let's not go back to there. But I've been a bit harsher. And, I don't think it's just not harsher, more free. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to go with free. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that whole phenomenon that we're, maybe some others of you are experiencing this kind of newfound freedom. You don't have to be MAGA. You don't have to be a Trumper to appreciate that. Yeah, okay. It is nice that, I'm not going to lose my job anymore for this or that, or, things are changing. So I want to talk a little bit about how that plays into something that happened on Saturday night. Did you guys see Saturday Night Live? It was the first episode of Saturday Night Live since the 50th anniversary. So if you were to take a 30,000-foot view of Saturday Night Live 100 years from now, looking back at the entire canon, you might be able to create benchmarks as, the first show is certainly a benchmark and the last show is certainly a benchmark. But I would think that another benchmark might be the first show after the 50th anniversary. Because what do I think that represents? Well, I think that because Lorne Michaels is still the executive producer and a guy who's taken a lot of crap in the last 15 years. He's too old. He doesn't understand comedy. The show's gotten so soft, and it did. The show got really soft. The show got really scared. The show stopped being the edgiest form of weekly content in America to being just an amplifier of whatever the Kardashians were doing. It did. It became very silly. And so for the first show, after the 50th anniversary, after years of Lorne Michaels being accused of having lost that so important edge of Saturday Night Live, what does he do? He lets a guy, the first host was George Carlin. And I think Lorne Michaels knew that. He had Shane Gillis host. And maybe it went horribly wrong, or maybe what we saw on Saturday night is the kind of legendary thing that comics will talk about for the ages. We'll get into that. Things are changing a little bit. America, the edge is back, I believe. And we'll talk about that. We're also going to get into Kanye's doing some crazy stuff. We'll do the Oscars. Hey, who's king of the Oscars? This guy, king of the... I picked them all. I ran the... I don't know that I really committed to a best actor, but I figured Adrian Brody was great in The Brutalist. The movie was unwatchable. It's so long. It's just Adrian Brody and his giant nose and like a weird Eastern European accent for 15 hours. That's how long that movie is, I think. How long, Jamie, how long is it? I watched a Joe Rogan, Bill Murray interview this weekend. So now I'm just going to call out to Jamie for everything. He doesn't respond to me, but Jamie, never mind. Hi, Adam. Adam's in the chat room saying hola like a non-English speaker. For shame. We'll talk about the Oscars. We'll talk about Kanye. We'll talk about SpaceX. I might do a live stream tonight, 5:30 if the thing goes off. But honestly, it's rocketry. So that thing could be delayed to like midnight, and I don't want to be here that long. So let's play that one as it comes. What else are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. All right, what do you say we get started? Those of you who've been around here for a while, you know what this show is. It plays itself out in 4 segments. That's because the stream of consciousness can get kind of crazy, and I do need some kind of rule book, a roadmap, if you will, so that I can get from beginning to end. We do it in 4 quarters, we call them. The first one, antecedently on this day, is just simply, these are some things that happened on this day in history, March 3rd, excuse me. Quarter 2. Quarter 2 is birthdays, celebrities. Happy birthday to you. Are they cool? Or are we like, yeah, we don't like those people? Anyway, it's a chance for us to like rip on celebrities. That's quarter 2. That's fun. Quarter 3 is deads. People who died on this day. The deads, celebrities, notable quotables, historical figures, whatever. Just they passed away on this day. What we do is we look at, we think about what we know of them. And we make a snap judgment. Where'd they go? Heaven or eternal damnation? That's quarter 3. Quarter 4 is all the hot topics, current events, and all that other stuff. Did I mention I'm the king of the Oscars? Oh, man, I got Oscar. I had, for some reason, I found myself home in bed with nothing to watch. And I sat and watched the whole Oscars. I didn't think I was going to do that. I thought it was just going to be clips and moments, and maybe I'd check in from time to time, but I figured there'd be something else on. I don't care about the Knicks. So the Knicks game was not something that was on my radar. So I watched them. And I started making these insane notes, like everything, every little option. I may or may not have been high. What? Anyway, every little observation, I'm like making these notes. In about an hour and a half into it, I was like, nah, I'm done. This is too crazy. I can't talk about this tomorrow for 5 hours because that's where we are. So we'll just do, we'll see how far we got before I lost interest, and we'll talk about some of the big things that happened and how I'm telling you, man, I should have bet on the Oscars. I even had editing. I had Sean Baker. Did not have Best Actress. If I'm being honest, I did not have Best Actress. I wanted Best Actress. I mean, I could not be more thrilled that Mikey Madison won for Anora. Couldn't be happier for that. But I thought it was going to Demi, and it didn't. So that's too bad. All right. Small talk. I want to do a little small talk. I know you're like, Pugs, what the hell was that if that's small talk? Leslie C says, thanks for talking about Anora. I watched it yesterday before the Oscars. It's good, right? I mean, I don't want to build up the expectations. I mean, all I can say is that of the movies that I watched last year, Anora is the one that I'll probably watch again pretty soon because I enjoyed it. And I had also been comparing it for the last few weeks. I've been saying, Anora is Pretty Woman if it was mixed with Uncut Gems, right? That was my analogy, right? It's Pretty Woman and Uncut Gems come together. That movie is Anora. That was terrible. It was a terrible analogy on my part, and I apologize because, one, Uncut Gems is not, it doesn't connect with people enough. There's certain dudes are like, yeah, I know that movie, but like everybody else is like, no, wait, what was that? That was an Adam Sandler. I don't watch comedies. No, it wasn't a comedy. I don't. Here's what Anora is. Anora is Pretty Woman if Quentin Tarantino directed it. That's what it is. That's, I think, the best description of what Anora is. Anora is Pretty Woman if Quentin Tarantino directed and wrote it. There you go. So I was so happy for them because I thought they were going to get, they're such a small group, independent film. Of course, in the things they were up against were just these monolithic Hollywood corporate studio monsters. And I don't know. After I saw it, I went, boy, that'll be hard to beat. It won't win. I never thought it would win. I said it should. I don't know. Does that make me king of the Oscars? I had no faith. We're going to get into it. We'll talk about that. I do want to mention this though. So some of you, some of us have created a relationship off this stream over the years through social media and stuff where we speak privately in chats about television shows and are you watching this and you should check this out. And you know me, I love to tell you when something's good. I will rarely come on and tell you something is terrible, except for The Brutalist, because I had to watch that because it was an Academy Award nominated film and I like to try and watch all of the movies. Tradition my mom started. That I'm like, that's pretty okay. I can, even if you don't like it, it's like, even if you don't want to see the movie, just so you feel relevant. I think that's cool. But my mom is cool. So, so I got a new show. I got a new TV show. Over the weekend, David Johansen died. We'll pay proper tribute to David Johansen. David Johansen, a legendary rock singer, leader of the New York Dolls. Would reinvent himself in the 1980s as a performer named Buster Poindexter. You know, he had this big pompadour in the 80s and in the 90s, and that was a very, very different. He was in Scrooged. You know, Bill Murray Scrooged. He's the cab driver. He's the cab driver that's sort of guiding Bill Murray through his version of whatever the Christmas Carol story is. I don't remember offhand. But David Johansen was cool, man. David Johansen was a true artist. We're going to talk about him. We're going to give him his full due. But when he died, I was immediately reminded of one of the coolest rock and roll stories that I know. Back in 72 or 73, there was this scene in New York's Lower Village, and it was called the Mercer scene. Punks know what this is. Maybe deep hardcore fans of alternative know what the Mercer Arts scene was. The Mercer scene, the Mercer Arts scene, whatever. The Mercer Arts building was an abandoned old building that these artists all took over. And they would do, it was kind of like what the Fillmore was in San Francisco. And they would do concerts and experimental film and have these crazy parties and so many amazing, amazing bands like the New York Dolls. But all of the bands that began the punk scene in America started in the Mercer Arts scene. So the story is, and it's a crazy story, but the New York Dolls were playing one night at the Mercer Arts and the building collapsed. The entire building collapsed. And while the New York Dolls were on stage, like people died and stuff. But, you know, we talk about, remember the Great White story? Great White did a concert and the whole building burned down and everybody died. And we all remember that. But in 73, there was another incident. The Mercer Arts building collapsed in New York City. And that scene, and I must confess, I'm not fully familiar with the actual details of the Mercer Arts collapse. But there was a television show a number of years ago on HBO. And this television show was about the 1970s record industry in New York and how it was changing over from this Brill building of, you know, songwriters writing songs for Colored X, you know, that whole thing. And it was turning into more rock and roll. And New York was kind of discovering CBGBs and all that. So it was a really cool idea for a television show that HBO put on in 2016. It was called Vinyl. And one of the very first scenes in this movie that I remembered was a depiction of the Mercer Arts collapse with David Johansen on stage as the New York Dolls. And first the drywall starts to come down and people are just so into this scene. It was a metaphor. It was through the telling of the television series Vinyl. It's a metaphor for, you know, the birth of punk and how they were going to tear all the old stuff down. It was cool. And I was reminded of that when David Johansen died on Saturday. But then that made me think of the TV show again. The TV show was called Vinyl. Do you guys remember this? Maybe some of you do. If you don't, I remember loving it. I remember it being the perfect replacement for The Sopranos. I remember being one of those shows that on Sunday nights for one season in 2016, man, don't bother me for the next hour, man. I want to watch Vinyl. Now, why did I like it like that? Well, first of all, the pedigree. You know how I'm big on pedigree. Oh, by the way, I have an update on Vinyl. It was Martin Scorsese doing a TV show. He wrote it, created it, conceived it, and directed the first bunch of episodes. It was Martin Scorsese doing that stuff with his partner, Mick Jagger, who was providing all of the real stories of the kind of bullshit record company nonsense that was going on. And it was all being run by Terrence Winter. Think about that. Terrence Winter, Boardwalk Empire, Martin Scorsese, Mick Jagger. So those were the people that created the show for HBO. And again, that's pedigree too. You know, we're coming out of a time when HBO meant something with original television. So the show was Vinyl. It had that pedigree. And then it had a cast. It had a cast of almost completely unknown people. And whatever. However, now all of those unknown people are like big stars. Bobby Cannavale was the star of it. He played the record company guy. Juno Temple, who has, you know, a trophy case filled with stuff for her Ted Lasso work, was the other star. Huey from The Boys. You know that concoction that is the result of Meg Ryan and who was she with? Kurt Russell, that dude, Huey, he's one of the stars of it. Ray Romano, who was, you know, the only star at the time, is also in it. It's really good. And I don't know if you guys can find it anywhere, but I want to show this to you. I want to watch I want you to see exactly what this show is, because this was the coolest show that I can remember ever being just canceled after one season. Now, why was it canceled after one season? It was canceled after one season because of those reasons that I told you. Martin Scorsese, Mick Jagger, and Terrence Winter, and combine that with, oh my God, it's 2016, and Netflix is actually crushing HBO now. It was too expensive. Those guys were like, yeah, we're doing a season 2. Scorsese wanted a season 2. HBO wanted a season 2. Everybody wanted a season 2. But, you know, Scorsese and Jagger and all of those people, they're not cheap. So anyway, the update on that is, I was listening to a conversation about David Johansen on the radio on Saturday while I was out doing some errands. And the person said that HBO and Scorsese, having nothing to do with the passing of David Johansen, it was just hey, oh, and also, you remember that show Vinyl? HBO was bringing it back. And there was a conversation about Vinyl that I was listening to. And again, it all stemmed from that first scene in Vinyl where David Johansen and the New York Dolls are playing at the Mercer Arts Center when the building collapses. Here, I want to show you the promo. This is the trailer for Vinyl. Check it out. I don't know if you know this show, but I mean, if you're like me and you like this kind of stuff, by the way, it's a fictional record company. Bobby Cannavale plays the leader of the president of a fictional record company. However, all of his acts, all of the people he's recording are real people. So Mick Jagger is out here telling stories about what a dick Alice Cooper really was, and, you know, having to work in a recording studio with England Dan and John Ford Cody. It's really funny. It's really funny because there's so many of these people that are real people that are interacting with fake people. Anyway, here it is. If you get a chance to find it anywhere, you're going to want to see season 1 of Vinyl. This is what I was preoccupied with all weekend.
When I started in this business, rock and roll was real. Pure.
Mr. Finestra, is there a problem with the document?
I started this company from nothing.
Right, and now we're selling it.
I'm talking about our dreams, man. You don't understand.
Okay, here's what I do understand, Richard. You're high.
Yeah, what? So what? It's a privilege to do this job, to introduce the world to new music, to shape the culture.
Richard, we're going to be bankrupt in a month.
Going in a new direction, trying to bring us into the future.
Well, you're over there in the future. I'm here in the present trying to keep the lights on.
Hey, we're about to turn a corner.
The Nazis told my Uncle Isaac, showers. right around the corner.
I want fresh artists today.
I have something. I think they're pretty good.
Where'd you find them?
I saw the singer on the subway and I liked his look.
That's what I'm talking about.
Do you have any idea how screwed we are?
I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah, of course he's fine. He's always fine.
Everything. It's all riding on this company.
You got a guilty conscience, and this is what you come up with? That's it. That's all I got.
I promise I'm gonna bring us back. Let's show people how rock and roll is supposed to make you feel.
Everyone knows they want to break you apart. All right, there you go. That's how I rediscovered the television show Vinyl, because I'm hearing there might be a season 2. Let's make that happen. All right, let's get started. It is The Rant. I'm Pugs Moran, live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios. Welcome, one and all. It is the 3rd day of March, year of our Lord, 2025. We'll do the math. That's 62 days so far into this year. 303 remain until New Year's Eve, so get those New Year's Eve plans started. What do you say we get into quarter one? We call that antecedently on this day. Just a whole bunch of stuff that happened on this day. Let's riff on it, okay? Antecedently on this day in the year 1845, Florida is admitted as the 27th U.S. state. I guess we don't ever do performance reviews in this country. I guess Florida is just, 27th? 20, look. I think all the states ought to be, up for renewal, right? If we're talking about taking on Canada and all this, here's what I think. The 13 colonies, they're the only safe ones. Yeah, the 13 colonies, they're the only ones that have, they're like the Supreme Court states. They've got lifetime appointments to this country because those are the states, the colonies, if you will, that actually fought for independence. Everybody else, I think we should be reviewed. And if we're reviewing Florida, I think Florida's, well, not with this administration, that's for sure. But anyway, with an unbiased, normal, I think Florida would be gone. On this day in 1845, Florida, welcome to the party. On this day in 1849, the territory of Minnesota is created. Now, this isn't about being a state. I know it was on this day in 1845, Florida became a state. This is about Minnesota becoming a territory. And all I can say is that we should all be more Minnesota and less Florida. Is that a provocative statement? We should all behave more in the way the state of Minnesota has behaved over the years than in the way the state of Florida. Okay, I think we can agree with that. If we can't, that's another one of these litmus tests. You are not one of the 70%. If you can't simply agree that Minnesota as a state has been way better behaved than Florida, then I just don't know where the disconnect is, and we must move apart. But I do love you, and I wish you luck. Antecedently on this day in the year 1873, censorship in the United States. Censorship! All right, let's get into this. What is this about? The U.S. Congress. I'm sorry. I'm watching firefighters in the Carolinas. Why aren't they covering? Why isn't the media covering the Carolina fires? They were going wall to wall when it was California and all the lefty retards, he said while watching coverage of the Carolina fires. I've been watching Carolina fire coverage all weekend, and I'm looking on social media and I'm hearing that from people. Why? I mean, it's certainly not getting the extent of coverage that California did, but yeah, that's because one is burning in a forest preserve and the other was burning in Hollywood. Millions of people were living through it. Just, you guys, stop being disingenuous. Stop it. Antecedently on this day, censorship in the United States is what we're talking about. The U.S. Congress enacts the Comstock Law, making it illegal to send any obscene literature and articles of immoral use through the mail. This is a good one. This is the Comstock Law was designed for, well, nefarious purposes, if we're being honest. It was It was designed to stifle free speech. The Comstock Law was originally intended to stop communist organizations from mailing newsletters. And then that all got thrown away. Like they got rid of all of those aspects of the Comstock Law, and now it's still here. And now it is very important. It is a righteous law because it's typically what we use to, get child predators in prison for child pornography. So there you have it. So it starts out bad, but good people can evolve with free thought into taking a bad idea and fixing it and making it better. Antecedently on this day in the year 1913, thousands of women march in the women's suffrage procession in Washington, D.C. On this day in 1913, women, but we are women, we are... Wasn't it weird last night when like a whole bunch of people were getting up on, in front of the Oscars and going, I just want to show my support for prostitutes. I know they were using the word sex worker, but I heard prostitutes. I'm like, okay, look, I think prostitution should be legal. I'm not commenting on the intent or the motivation behind the statement. I'm commenting on the fact that we're comfortable making that statement in 2025, which is a statement that would have been extremely difficult to walk away from just a few years ago. But now I am an ally of sex workers. Interesting. On this day in 1870, we'll get into that more. We're going to talk about sex work. On this day in 1873, or 1913, thousands of women march in what was the first big suffrage procession in Washington, D.C. On this day in 1923, Time Magazine publishes its first issue. Time Magazine. On this day in 1923. And I wonder if we ever really, I'm a journalism media dork and all that kind of stuff. So I'm a great, not going to say admirer. I understand the importance of Time Magazine. We've spent the last couple of weeks talking about the cultural impact and importance of Saturday Night Live and Lorne Michaels over the past 50 years. But that is dwarfed by the influence and power of Time Magazine. I would argue that in 1940, post-war, let's go right after the war. Now, let's say 1947, I would argue the most powerful man in the world, or the most powerful men in the world, weren't in Washington, D.C., but they were in a boardroom in New York City. They were the publishers and the editors of Time Magazine, because you got to understand back then, there was only a couple of platforms for information. There was like 10 magazines, and you only knew about 2 of them, Newsweek and Sports Illustrated. Time, There was 3 TV channels with 3 newsmen who told you what the 3 of those organizations agreed was the information for the people. It wasn't all the information. It was the selected and curated and highly agendized information that 3 guys at ABC, NBC, and CBS decided this is what we're going to tell the American people are most important. Time Magazine was a huge thing. They were considered the most credible source for information. It didn't matter, right, left. Time Magazine was the shit. They put you on the cover of Time Magazine. Everyone in the world saw you. Now nobody sees you except for people who are in a dentist's office. Do they even have magazines at dentist's office anymore? I have such horrible teeth, I wouldn't know. Time Magazine was important, and now it's absolute. I don't know what it is. Time Warner, I know Time Warner Discovery. I know it is merged. It leveraged its power as a magazine about 40 years ago into other forms of media, and now it's just something much different. But I'm telling you, man, around about 1947, one of the most powerful men in the world was that dude sitting in the Time Magazine offices deciding who goes on that week's cover. Time Magazine formed on this day in 1923. Oh, and Man of the Year? Do you know what that meant back then? Now it's nothing. Now it's like being people's sexiest. But like in 1960, if you were Time's Man of the Year, you were named Kennedy or Nixon. It was like that. It was that level of importance. Antecedently on this day in the year 1938, something occurred that in this moment in 1938, nobody batted an eye at. Wasn't even reported anywhere. You didn't read about it. Nobody read about it in the newspaper. Maybe they did, page 15, bottom corner, whatever. But I will argue today that it is the single most important thing that happened in this world post-war. On this day in 1938, oil is discovered in Saudi Arabia. Woo! You want to talk about changing? I mean, I know 38 is before the war, and that was kind of what a lot of the war was about. But after the war, when they went back to Saudi Arabia and went, all right, now that everything's calmed down, let's really start cranking this up. That's crazy. That's crazy the way that altered the way we live. What would the world be like if there was no oil in Saudi Arabia? I don't know. All right, moving on. That was on this day in 1938. On this day in 1991, an amateur video captures the beating of Rodney King by Los Angeles police. Yeah, that was a hard look, man. See, Rodney King is an example of how many things can be true all at the same time. It is. And when you, are tribal, you may not subscribe to that way of looking at the world. That oftentimes many things people are complicated. This Rodney King video is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the aftermath. I'm not talking about the obvious brutality of man-on-man violence like that. No, I'm talking about the video and the way the video was perceived by people. You got to understand, this was a time, we didn't have phones. I was watching a thing a couple of years ago, a documentary, and they showed the Rodney King beating, and my son looked at the TV and he said, dude, what kind of phone is that? It wasn't a phone, dude. It was a big JVC handy cam. We thought it was tiny at the time, but it's, by today's standards, it's gigantic. It's like walking around with a toaster. Could you imagine walking around with a toaster, son? No, that would be absurd, but that's who we were in 1993, 91. So there's a guy on a balcony fucking around with his new JVC, and he sees there's something going on with the cops, so why not? He starts filming and just randomly captures what a lot of people will tell you was pretty much common for the Los Angeles Police Department at the time, which was they were beating the fuck out of people all the time. Notice I didn't say black people or brown people or white people. I don't know. They were out of control. We now know historically that at this time in the LA Police Department, the Rampart scandal was happening. We didn't know it then, but we know it now. The Rampart scandal, if you don't know what the Rampart scandal in the Los Angeles Police Department is, it is the basis for the television show The Shield. If you ever saw The Shield with Vic Mackey and Michael Chiklis as Vic Mackey and Walton Goggins. That was they had to change all the names and shit like that and make it a fake. They called it Farmington in The Shield, but no, that was the Rampart LA. So what happened in The Shield really happened. Okay, so the Los Angeles Police Department was a mess, and it changed the way we act. It's changed the way police for a period of time. I'm not saying that they stopped cracking heads. I'm saying that they started to at least be aware that somebody was filming. My God, that was shocking. And when I say many things, I don't think Rodney King was a good dude. I think he was my God. He was all jacked up on all kinds of drugs, not stopping because didn't want to go to jail. Well, that was a selfish decision that put everybody else in the community at risk. So he's racing around in like a Hyundai through neighborhoods, and the cops caught him, and then they tuned him up real good. We can't do that. We can't tune people up. But my point is, the LA cops were just tuning people up like that before they realized, wait a second, these JVCs can catch us from balconies across the street. So that changed some things. But I will tell you this, not as a police officer. If Rodney King was doing that in my neighborhood and I got close to him, close enough to yank him out of that fucking car, I'd have kicked his head in too. That son of a bitch, that triggers me. That kind of bullshit behavior, doing 100 miles an hour on LSD through a neighborhood where my kid rides his bike. Are you fucking nuts? That's angry me. That's angry me. So, I get the frustration and the anger on the part of the cops, but the cops, as they've learned over the years, not only are things being recorded at all times now for everybody's protection, everybody benefits when all of these interactions can be not disputed because we're seeing them play out with body cams and all that. I think that's good. But maybe it also, taught cops a little something about, how they interact with people. It's not always safe. All right. I don't want to talk anymore about that. That's a rough one. That's actually, we're done too. Let's get out of here. Rodney King getting beat up made me thinking about that. Yikes. What else do we have? What are we doing? Oh, it's birthdays. Let's do some birthdays. Yeah, let's talk about some people having birthdays and decide whether or not we like them. All right, here you go. Yay, birthdays. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but there was like a helicopter that sounded like it was landing on our building. But I got to tell you, I've made this. We got a lot of stuff in here now. I have really sound padded this room nicely. I think the sound is going to be improved, the quality. All right, let's do some birthdays. Let's talk about people born on this day. Do we like them or nah? How about this one? Alexander Graham Bell, born on this day in 1847. Do we like him? Nah. And he another one of these guys that stole his shit because his dad knew somebody in the patent office. There's some bullshit surrounding him. Wasn't he competing with somebody else? Alexander Graham Bell. Who is it? Is it George Westinghouse? No. That guy was Edison. I have no idea. Marconi? Was it Marconi? I think it was Marconi. I think Alexander Graham Bell stole Marconi. I don't know. Yeah, I think it was Marconi. Anyway, screw you, Alexander Graham Bell. On this day in 1882, born unto it, Charles Ponzi. Imagine being so good as a con man that your last name becomes like the term for con man now. Charles Ponzi was a con man. That's why we call it a Ponzi scheme. He didn't invent, but he certainly capitalized and popularized a type of scheme where you solicit investors and you promise gargantuan returns almost immediately. And in order to get good word of mouth on the street, as they say, you pay your early investors back right away, better than you promised. So that they then run out and go, oh, I've got this thing. And then eventually, robbing Peter to pay Paul, that whole thing. Ponzi, he was so good at it. Charles Ponzi, born on this day in 1882, that they named the word after him. Oh, here's another. I got a good one for you. Not born on this day, but just like Charles Ponzi. You ever heard of Samuel Boycott? I think it's Samuel. Yeah, Samuel Boycott is the dude. I don't know if it's Samuel. Why Samuel doesn't sound right. So, check this out. This is how we get the word boycott. Right? We just learned how we get the word Ponzi. We get the word boycott because when the British were dominating the Irish back in the 1880s or whenever the hell that was, when wasn't it? Right, Jamie? Jamie. I stole him from Joe Rogan. He's hanging out with me now. Where was I? When the British stole all the land from the Irish, they instilled British sort of land keepers. Like they came in, they took everybody's land and they said, hey, it's our land now, but you can still work it because we're cool like that. That was the British attitude. So anyway, in one of these towns, the Brit who was put in charge was named Boycott, Samuel Boycott. And he lived in town with all the other people in town. And whenever he would go to the pub, everybody ignored him. And whenever he walked the street, people would cross the street. And it was just really great passive aggressive. And that's where the term, he was sent back to London because he couldn't do his job because he couldn't deal with anybody. People would, lock their doors when he came knocking. So he got sent back to London and they sent a new guy. And boycott went into the dictionary the next year as meaning something you avoid, something you purposefully do not come in contact with. There you go. Charles Ponzi, born on this day in 1882. See, we learn things on this show. Born on this day. Born on this day in 1950. I'm going to ask you, what do we think of this guy? Let me pull up his picture. Look at his picture. I'm going to ask you. There you go. Give him a look. Look at this guy. Happy birthday, Tim Kazurinsky. Look at him. Look at him. Talking a lot about SNL. I got a big rant I'm going to do on Shane Gillis and SNL from Saturday night coming up at the end of the show. But a lot of talk otherwise about SNL and the big 50th anniversary. This is Tim Kazurinsky. Do you guys know him? Do anybody know him? He was what did he do It wasn't Sniglitz, right? Sniglitz was Rich Hall. What did Tim Kazurinsky do? Remember, he was the doctor on Weekend Update? Like, he'd come out in a white coat and he had cards. When you have sneezes, but also that's called, and I don't remember how the jokes went. Do we need to look into this now? No, we don't. You know what? Because it obviously wasn't that funny. Oh, there he is. I still see Tim Kazurinsky in things. Every once in a while, he'll pop up in a movie, and I'm like, hey, Tim Kazurinsky, totally forgotten Saturday Night Live guy. There he is. That's the character that he used to do, right? Or maybe he is just a nerd. I don't know. Anyway, there you have it. Happy birthday, Timmy Kazurinsky. I like him. Born on this day in 1950. Born on this day in 1962. We've got some umbilical cousins. Holy crap, what kind of roids were being jacked into this mom during her first trimester? Umbilical cousins. Born on this day. Those are people born on the exact same day, exact same year. This is crazy. Born on this day in 1962, Olympic gold medalist Jackie Joyner-Kersee, American heptathlete and long jumper. Jackie Joyner-Kersee metaphorically shared an umbilical cord with this man born on this day in 1962, the Nutty Buckets, but one of the most incredible runners with a football in his hand of all time. Nutty Buckets, Herschel Walker, born on this day in 62. Jackie Joyner-Kersee, Herschel Walker. Same day, umbilical cousins. Look at them. On this day, born unto this world, 1966, how about the funky Cole Medina himself, Tone Loc? How do you think Tone Loc's living? Here's how I think Tone Loc is living. I think that funky Cole Medina was, all right, this is, I don't know who Tone Loc is. Like, was Tone Loc like vice president of distribution? And, he just did this under a pseudonym, Tone Loc. Like Geraldo. Remember Geraldo? You remember Geraldo? I don't remember that guy. That guy was actually an executive at the record company who they thought was hot. And he could kind of sing. So like, you ought to cut something. Anyway, I don't know what Tone Loc is doing, but I bet you Tone Loc can clear, being Tone Loc in 2025, I bet he can clear $100,000. I bet he could clear $100,000 a year. Way more than that if he, if he's doing a podcast or something like that. But that name still means something. And I'm saying the $100,000 a year, just traveling the country, showing up on like oldies urban hip hop stations and doing a show at the local place for like, you could make a living. Tone Loc does not need to be destitute. Happy birthday, funky Cole Medina. Born on this day in 1966, Tone Loc. Now let's talk about Young MC. Is he still busting moves? Born on this day in 1974, David Faustino. He's a Bud Bundy. I got no love for Bud. I don't know why. I got no love for Bud Bundy. Didn't like him. Was he supposed to be smart? Was that the dynamic, that he was really smart but a total dirtbag? And his sister was like really hot but like stupid as a bag of hammers? Is that what was going on there? I don't know. Or was he not really smart? Was he dumb? Because why did they have a smart kid in that family? There should not have been a smart kid in that family. Al Bundy was incredibly stupid, reductive, small-minded. And Peg was drunk. Peg might have been something, but Peg was drunk the whole time. So, I don't know. Happy birthday, David Faustino. Married with children. Bud Bundy. Born on this day in 1982. Here's one that I've always been like, I don't know what's going on with her. Jessica Biel, born on this day in 1982. What I mean by that is, like, she's almost like that Seinfeld character, Two-Face. Like, sometimes I'll see Jessica Biel and I'll be like, oh my God, she's one of the 5 most beautiful women in Hollywood. And then other times, I'll see Jessica Biel and I'll be like, wow, that's just somebody's kind of hot mom. I don't know. So and it has nothing to do with like, what she looked like 20 years ago versus, no, it's like, I see her. She's pretty relevant still. She's around. Sometimes I see her and I'm like, whoa. And then other times I'm like, really? Okay, what's happening to her? Anyway, happy birthday, 1982. Born on this day, Jessica Biel. Born on this day in 1997, Camila Cabello. So I'll try that again. Born on this day in 1997, Camila Cabello. Gotta slow it down at the end. I ran through the wall. I went Camila Cabello. No, it's Camila Cabello. Cuban-American singer, songwriter, and actress. I don't know anything about her. Couldn't tell you anything about her. Don't even know if she's hot or not. And you know I'd know if she was, so she's probably not. Ain't that right, Jamie? I'm sure she's exceptionally hot because you don't get to be famous anymore being a... Well, that's not true. That's not true. There are two kinds of like superstar women pop stars. There are the classics, you know, Mariah Carey, sexy, you know, Britney Spears, sexy. Who is the chick who did Dirty? Remember her? Aguilera, sexy. You know, there's that. Those have always been, but now there are your Lizzos and things that are not traditionally what we expect to come out of the music industry. So I don't know. I don't know if Camilla, I don't know if she's hot or not. We're going to move on. Doesn't really matter. A grown man of my age shouldn't be interested in such things anyway. So what do you say we just agree we never spoke of it? Dead people. Here we go. Who died on this day? Where'd they go? Heaven or hell? Dead on this day in 1959, Lou Costello, Abbott and Costello. How you guys feel about Abbott and Costello? Because they're one of those people that programming. I think anyway. I think there's like I've had people go, "Oh, I love Abbott and Costello," and then they've like never actually seen an Abbott and Costello movie. They've just seen little pieces of it from growing up. They don't know. Oh, Abbott and Costello, they're legends. I don't know. I was just never moved by Abbott and Costello. Abbott and Costello, no. Three Stooges, no. Laurel and Hardy, yes. And the Marx Brothers, yes. That's what I would say. The Marx Brothers, if you want pure mayhem, the Marx Brothers are so much better than the Three Stooges. The Three Stooges are funny. You're not nobody's going to deny that the Three Stooges doesn't make you laugh. But not with the like... Sometimes you're laughing at the Three Stooges because it's so stupid, right? Like the Marx Brothers make you laugh because it's funny, because Groucho's just said something that you've gone, man, that's a good line. You know, the Stooges didn't have good writing. There wasn't like great dialogue in the Stooges. There's incredible, and some of the greatest dialogue in Hollywood history has been uttered by Groucho Marx and Marx Brothers movies. So that's why I say they're superior. And Abbott and Costello, they were just, to me, they're like, are they, you know, Laurel and Hardy? Same thing, right? Just maybe 20 years later. I thought Laurel and Hardy were funnier. Anyway, moving on. That shouldn't count against Lou Costello. Let's put him in heaven. Fine. I've been a bad boy. That was his thing, right? Lou Costello. That's what made him all his money and why he's got a statue in Newark. Yeah, Lou Costello Park. It was featured on The Sopranos. They did a hit right underneath the statue of Lou Costello in one of the Sopranos episodes. But that was his whole bit. He was like Abbott. Abbott was like just like pissed all the time. Like life hasn't gone well for him, but he's capable. All Abbott needed was a break, but maybe he's got a little bit of a degenerate gambling side, because there seemed to be a lot of gambling there. But you could put a suit on and you could clean up Abbott and he could work next to you, right? And there was his buddy Costello, who was retarded. Can we be honest? He was retarded. This was like Of Mice and Men for dumb people. That's what Abbott and Costello was. All right, we'll put him in heaven anyway. Dead on this day in 2018. Where's he going? Heaven or hell? Ladies and gentlemen, do you guys know who David Ogden Stiers is? David Ogden Stiers, dead on this day. Here he is. Okay, does this guy look familiar to you at all? Because I got to be honest, that dude doesn't even look familiar to me, and I know what I'm talking about here. No. Yeah, there you go. Now we're kind of getting a little Major Winchester from MASH, right? This is David Ogden Stiers. There he is. Major Winchester from MASH. Joined the cast in 1977 after Larry Linville left the role of Frank Burns. Frank Burns is the original character in MASH. And by original character, I mean the Robert Altman film from the 1960s. Frank Burns was played by Robert Duvall. In the television series, they needed this antagonist for Hawkeye and BJ. So, that's where Frank Burns comes in. Frank Burns is the antagonist. And then he left, or did they kill him? because I don't know, they didn't recast him. They brought in this character in 77, a truly original character in the MASH universe, does not have any ties, I don't believe, to the movie. He was Major Winchester the third, Montgomery Winchester. What was his name? Something real pretentious. Anyway, he's going to hell because the only thing I know about David Ogden Stiers was that he was always ratting out the boys about their still in their tent. So screw that guy. All right. Here's another one. This guy. I don't know if this guy is legend or if, we should all just forget about this dude because nobody should be this much of a consistent screw up. Here he is, dead on this day. What year? I'm not sure. It's the late Tom Sizemore. Tom Sizemore, 2023, 2 years ago. You want to know the most screwed up thing about Tom Sizemore? Tom Sizemore is such a cool actor, man. Now, I think we got two of them, right? Hollywood Clone Factory, I always talk about that, how they always build them in reserve. We also have a Michael Madsen, and I think Michael Madsen is still alive. So we don't have to really be all that concerned about losing Tom Sizemore. But let's talk about what Tom Sizemore did as an actor. Saving Private Ryan, incredible. Heat, really good. Okay, that's all I got off the top of my head. He was certainly better known for appearing on the front pages of the National Enquirer, smoking crack in, Best Buy parking lots back in the mid-90s. And, of course, was dating and in a very serious relationship with famed Hollywood Madam Heidi Fleiss. He was a train wreck. He was a train wreck of a guy who was also an incredibly good actor and in and out of drug rehab. Didn't he do a show with Dr. Drew? Wasn't there a VH1 show called Shaking Sizemore or something like that about his battle with drugs and alcohol? Again, maybe this is the shame. This is the shame of it, that he was such an incredibly magnetic actor, so talented, who was also just this insatiable addict. Destroyed his everything. It's kind of sad. Anyway, it's not what killed him. Isn't that weird? That's like the weirdest thing. This dude dropped dead of a brain aneurysm, unrelated to the fact, and it's not like he was clean at 63. He had just been arrested like a year before for crack possession for like the 5th time. So Tom Sizemore is like, yeah, I'm a functioning crackhead. Call Spielberg. I'm ready to do Private Ryan too. He's a functioning crackhead, and then a brain aneurysm gets him. Boop. Crazy. It's like Keith Richards dying from, the flu. It's like, what? The flu killed him? Anyway, Tom Sizemore. I think he's going to hell because I understand that he did some really bad things for a whole lot of years to a whole bunch of people. And that's also one of the reasons that his career wasn't as great as maybe some had predicted in the early 90s when it looked like he was going to be one of the great leading men. That's it. We are done, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to end the first 3 categories of today's 4-category show. We're about to get into all the hot topics and current events, but I do want to remind you, haven't mentioned it, we are in what we need to call a pledge week, okay? Pledge week, we need to raise $250 this week. That's just the long and the short of it. We need to make $50 a show. So if there's any way that you can help keep us going, I would love to keep this stream. By the way, all the podcasts and all those like special podcasts that I've been doing with other people on other people's stuff, not anything like this, daily, but obviously we're going to continue doing those because we're going to try and see if some money can be made with that. But I'd like to continue doing the live stream of current events talk and keeping you company and y'all keeping me company. Why? Because as I've always said, this is my therapy. I can't. If I don't got good enough insurance to get real therapy anymore, it's certainly not down here in Texas. So, and you know what doesn't work? I don't want to say anything. Never mind. I don't want to say anything because it hasn't worked for me. Have I really given teletherapy a try? I don't know if I have or not. I mean, I've never done it. I've seen it. And so I don't know. Maybe it does work. Maybe it all depends on the individual. I was about to break bad on a form of therapy. And, I don't like that because I think anybody seeking any kind of insight into what makes them tick by sort of learning about our understanding of how humans tick and, this balance of good and bad and all of that and morality and the roles. Anyway, all I'm saying is any form of therapy is good. And that's what this show has been for me over the past 3 years. It's been a great way for me to come in here. You make me feel good. There's like, look at you people. You people are here. These people are showing up every single day. It makes me feel good. And feeling good is a great way to sort of want to wake up the next day. I mean, I don't mean to be fatalistic. That's not, I'm being dramatic because, I perform here every day. But thank you is what I'm saying. And I do enjoy doing the show. And we're going to try to keep doing it as long as we can. But we are in a pledge week. We didn't make it last month. Somebody came in at the end and it got compounded because of how late we paid our bills last month, or I paid my bills. These are my bills. Should be mentioned. That's why I do this show. Oh, I'm the parade shooting kid from Highland Park outside of Chicago. He changed. Okay. Breaking news. I'm sorry. I've been following this because it has to do with, oh God, look at this kid. Do you remember the kid on the 4th of July who went on the rooftop in Highland Park, Illinois with a rifle and then just killed a whole bunch of people? That dude. Oh my God. Well, here we are. Doesn't that seem like so long ago? Here we are. Suspect in Highland Park attack changed his plea to guilty. I guess he was, I don't know. He's got tattoos all over his face. Jeez. He doesn't look like he's a kid from Highland Park. Coincidence. Highland Park in Chicago is just like the Highland Park in Dallas. I think every place named Highland Park for some reason. And it would stand to reason because it would be the highland. So in the early days of any sort of settled community, the highland, the house on the hill, would always be the area where, the most, because it doesn't flood. You think it's because they just want to preside over. No, but it's because it doesn't flood. And that was important back in 1850. So anyway, yeah, suspect in Highland Park attack changes plea to guilty. So there you go. Help out the show if you can. And we're not going to be shaking our can like that. I hate it. Please keep the show. Keep the show. That's, if you can, you can. We need 50 today. Who's going to pick up today, huh? Who's going to buy me dinner tonight? Just look at it like that. I took Pugs out to dinner on Monday. And then the show will continue. All right, let's see here. Top stories. Hold on. Do I have that right? Boom, there we go. Sorry. Got to do that. Got to make it easy. Should anybody... Oh, hold on. God. Hold on. This is driving me insane. Got to do this real quick. I told you last week that I was having trouble with my camera connector. All right, let's see if we got it. Okay, there we go. Very good. All right, let's get started. Let's talk about the things that are happening in the world. First and foremost, we want to focus on North Texas, where we do this show from measles. I've been keeping track of the whole measles situation. So let's see. And by keeping track, I'm like, they're going to try and scare us with numbers. Right? And then they might be real. I'm not saying the numbers aren't real. I'm just saying numbers are what move the needle on any good story. So there were 129 cases of the measles. There were 129 cases of the measles here in Texas and a couple in New Mexico across the border at 12 p.m. on February 27th. Thursday. Is that Thursday? Yeah. So 129 on Thursday at noon. Thursday, start a show. 129 cases of measles. By 4 p.m. that very same day, that number had been revised to 140. And as of 9 a.m. this morning, the number is at 146. Now, I'm no math whiz, but that does look like a pretty good slowdown. It looks like it's slowing down, right? I mean, if it went from 129 at noon on Thursday to 140 at 4 p.m. on Thursday, and then it's only gone from 140 to 146 between Thursday at 4 o'clock and this morning at 9 a.m., I think we got to find our victories where we can. However, RFK, we talked about this last week. RFK got into a bit of a back and forth with the doctors on the ground there in Lubbock who are treating their children. They're all children. I got a breakdown of the cases. Maybe we can go over it if we want, but I don't really want to dwell all that much on the measles. You know why? Because every single one of you who are listening to me, you are already taken care of with the measles. You grew up in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2010s, maybe even. You grew up before 5 or 6 years ago, okay? And if you grew up before 5 or 6 years ago, you went through the public school system, you got your measles and all of those shots, okay? So we're good. I also had chickenpox. So, but my God, it's all children. It is all children of parents who are like, we don't do vaccines no more. And one of the reasons that, a lot of people think, we don't do vaccines. The reason people think that way is because of, let's talk about RFK Jr., shall we? Mr. We should question all vaxxers. Last week, Thursday, when he was first confronted about the measles outbreak and the jump in numbers, he said that those cases weren't real measles cases in the hospital in Lubbock. He said that those were just quarantine cases, and that, this was being blown out of control. He was playing it down very publicly. The doctors down there in Lubbock, they immediately shot back with, we don't quarantine patients here. That's not, we don't have the beds or the facilities or the money to just put people who aren't sick in a safe environment. That's not what we do here. And, or actually the response was, we don't quarantine healthy people. Because I'm sure that if somebody walked in with Ebola, they would have a place to put them. But you know what I mean. RFK Jr., our Health and Human Services Secretary, was suggesting that this was just precautionary. And the doctors fought back immediately. He said, no, it's not. Stop it. Then they released the actual numbers and the demographics, and it's all children. It's all children. The majority of them are between the ages of 17 and actually, what are the numbers? I can show you the numbers here. This is from the Department, Texas Health and Human Services, measles outbreak. Let's see here what the breakdowns are. All right, so age ranges 0 to 4 years old. Yeah, these are the most vulnerable. These are the ones that were born, in their first picture, they have the red hat. They got a little baby just born wearing a little MAGA hat. These are the ones that are probably most vulnerable. 0 to 4 years old, 46. No, actually 5 to 17. Yeah, 5 to 17. There are 70 cases of measles between 5 and 17. And then it just drops down from there. But yeah, most of them are just kids. Most kids, parents, who don't believe, for whatever reason, they don't believe in vaccines. And now measles is back, and we've had our first death. But, there was a reason to be optimistic. I believe. Why? Yeah, because I haven't seen those numbers climb substantially. Now, they might do a numbers dump. That might be something that is breaking come about 3-4 o'clock this afternoon. We might already see number of measles cases jumps to 500. Why? Because I don't know how those numbers get published, because there are a lot of government employees who are no longer government employees. So I don't know how accurate these counts are. Point is this: longtime anti-vaxxer RFK Jr. now urgently pleading with Americans to get measles shots. All right, there you read that. All right, longtime anti-vaxxer RFK Jr. is now urgently pleading with Americans to get a measles shot as outbreak grips Texas. This is from Mediaite. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a longtime vaccine skeptic and now President Donald Trump's Secretary of Health and Human Services, urged citizens to vaccinate themselves as Texas grapples with a deadly measles outbreak. Kennedy penned a call to action in the form of an opinion editorial on Fox News Digital Sunday. All right, so Sunday, RFK, there you go. So he published a whole thing going, you guys, get your measles. I know what I said when I was trying to get you crazy people to send me money and buy my stupid book. But now I'm actually doing stuff. And come on, guys. Play along. Get your shots. That's what he's doing. And I don't know. There are a lot of people who are like, but I'm confused now. It's like, oh, Jesus. Yeah. Kennedy penned a call to action in the form of an opinion editorial on Fox News Digital on Sunday. To voice his, quote, deep concerns over the spread of the disease, marking a stark departure from his downplaying of the outbreak as nothing unusual just last week. All right, there you go. Let's not hammer him for it, okay? I'm not going to sit here and go, no, but he said something else before. Gotcha. No, he's saying the right thing now. He's saying the right thing now. So let's stop it. See, you wanting to go, gotcha. He said something different. Look at me. I noticed. I'm a smart guy. That's your ego. Just let it fucking go. Just be like, you know what? He's doing the right thing now. He is doing the right thing now. Why? Because now it's real. Because he is in charge of the health of a nation. He ain't trying to sell books or get you guys ginned up at some Trump rally. He's actually doing the thing now. And he's got to be like, okay, I know what I said. Move on. Have one little, roll your eyes, but now at least appreciate that he's doing the right thing. I do. I'm like, good job, Bobby. All right, I'm willing to forget and move on because I don't need to be right about all this stuff. I've seen enough. I know what I'm right about. We can move on. What else do we have? Pope. I don't know what's going on with the Pope. Conclave didn't do all that well last night. I mean, it did really well because it was nominated like a gazillion times. But it won a couple of, stuff. It's an Oscar-winning film. So, they got that. They're going to be able to say that. But it didn't win. And there were a lot of people who thought that Conclave could win. And the Pope didn't help out. The Pope hanging on and us not actually having a papal conclave occur at the same time, I think that hurt him. I think that whoever the publicist was for conclave was probably trying to figure out ways to unplug the Pope's life support. Can we get a real? That would be great for us. Entertainment Tonight would totally have us on to explain what a conclave is. Yeah, opportunities missed. All right. What else do we have? Look, I'm not going to go into this because I don't want to go into this. But at some point, I'm telling you, I'm going to have to go into this, and it might be a completely different thing. By that, I mean it might be I might just start doing some random videos and stuff because I do not want to create any kind of toxic environment for the form of talk and conversation that we've created here. But this whole Ukraine thing is really starting. I've been watching. I can't take us. I can't take us anymore. I can't take Fox. I can't take CNN. I can't take MSNBC. And especially now that what we're talking about is a truly global situation that is occurring now. We're on the bench. The United States of America is on the bench. That's been our stated position now. These many days since we took ourselves out of the process. And the process of trying to make sure that Russia and Putin gets put in their rightful place. So we're out. We're done. But by the way, also, did you see this? Okay. Two things. The Kremlin today issued a statement applauding the White House for now being largely on the same side as the Kremlin, as Moscow. Yeah, the Kremlin put that out. White House now largely aligned with Moscow. That was a Kremlin headline that was put out this morning. Washington now largely aligned with you're commuting to your job in St. Petersburg or wherever you're on the little Russian train. You open up the newspaper, and what the headline that you as a Russian citizen are reading is that Putin and Trump, look at them, we're going to take over the world together. So that was a thing that happened today. And then Pete Hegseth, the new defense leader of defense, he called a halt to our anti-Russian he closed down our cyber spies, the program that was working to counteract all of the perceived cyber interactions that the Russian military and government are doing on us. We had that too. We had that same thing. That's the other thing. Don't ever liberals act like it wasn't. The Russians were doing it. We're doing it back. This is a kind of warfare. I don't know who started it, but we all do it. Not anymore. We're done. We're no longer. We are no longer actively investigating with our intelligence departments and military, because Hegseth is defense. We're no longer. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, my point is this. I don't want to bring all that onto the show, but holy shit, man. I mean, If you're in my personal universe, it's all we've been talking about. And all I'm doing is watching BBC and Sky News. I can't watch American coverage of this stuff. I will not watch American anymore news when it comes to world events, to global events. There was too much partisanship. Everybody is full of shit. Everybody is working an agenda. But not the BBC, not Sky News. I'm seeing some incredible coverage of what Europe is doing right now. It's pretty cool. It is real history that we're watching. We're watching Potsdam. We're watching Cairo. We're watching all of these places where the great leaders of the past got together and decided what the next move was going to be. We're watching this. And for the first time ever, and at a huge shock to everyone, America is not invited. They are not trusted anymore as a valued partner by the leaders of those countries. Macron over the weekend announced that they were restarting the military. No, I'm not going into it. I'm not going into it. I mean, nuclear proliferation. If they can't count on Trump for their nukes, for nuke defense, they're just going to go back to having nukes. Everybody in Europe is going to be like, well, we don't have NATO nukes anymore, or it is so messed up. And I don't want to do that. So instead, let's talk about, no, I don't want to. I got this great little clip of Rubio just a little while ago arguing about why we have to defend Ukraine and why it's so important. And now we've got Rubio from 4 days ago sitting on the couch. Jesus Christ, man. Once again, Kremlin headline this morning, Washington now largely aligned with Moscow. That's happening. That's happening. They are writing that. They like us. We don't want them to like us. You don't understand. If they like us, that means that we're fucking garbage like they're like, yeah, comrade, I like that guy. No, we don't want them to like us and want to be our friend. What don't we understand about this? We're not enemies with Russia just because we don't like them. Because they looked at me funny. I don't know. I just don't like Russia. We are angry at Russia for extremely legitimate reasons. And we're all just being asked now to pretend like those aren't real. And that everyone who put everything into the Cold War and everything that was lost in those times and the way entire generations were ruined and all need therapy now because they grew up in a time when the threat of bombs dropping at any minute was a very real thing. We're supposed to all just go, no, fuck them. We're friends with Russia now. Today's Kremlin headline, Washington, D.C. largely aligned with Moscow. All right, I just can't with this stuff. South Carolina fires. Yeah, man, there's some like wicked bad stuff going on in South Carolina, huh? I wouldn't know because nobody's covering it. As I watch coverage right now, randomly, I just turned and here we have NBC Now, the live streaming news, covering the Carolina fires. South Carolina governor declares state of emergency as wildfires erupt in Carolina and Georgia. 10 active wildfires remained in the Carolinas and Georgia on Monday, with some residents forced to flee their homes. Hold on. I want to see if this rises to the level of the Palisades fire. I just want to see if this rises to the level of thousands and thousands of people's homes being destroyed on live TV, because that was being covered by news organizations, not because that was better footage and it meant more and it was more compelling, because instead of just watching a forest and a golf course burn, you're watching people's $1 million mansions. That's why they covered it and stuck with it. Or no, they just like the libtards in Hollywood better. They just care about them more. They don't care about us in Carolina. It's a fucking national forest that's on fire. It's a story and it deserves to be covered because it is encroaching on population centers and all of that. Actually, I shouldn't say this because wasn't Myrtle Beach in trouble like this morning? But I don't know if it got there yet. It's not the same population density. It's not the same thrill to watch happen. That's why the media covers when a fire breaks out in the middle of Hollywood rather than, in the middle of Hazard County. People are absurd with your arguments. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster declared a state of emergency Sunday as wildfires in the Carolinas and Georgia scorched thousands of acres. 175 fires at one point were burning in South Carolina. Fueled by unusually dry conditions and gusty winds, those conditions are expected to fade as cold front pushes. By Monday, there were 5 active fires. Okay, so they're putting it out. So it went on for 3 days, and it burned a whole bunch of forests and, some hermits. Some hermits who live in the middle of the woods. They lost their houses. Yeah, that is a tragedy because now those people are going to come back into civilized society and be living in an apartment next door to you, being all hermit weird. And you don't want that. Dude, go back to living in the woods. I can't. The wildfires burned down my shack. All right, South Carolina. Don't go near Myrtle Beach. I hear that's lovely. Oscars. Should we get into the Oscars? Hooray for Hollywood. The Oscars were last night. As I said, I watched a whole bunch of them. I watched like the whole thing from wire to wire. Snuck up on me too. Oscars. What are the Oscars? The Oscars think they're the Super Bowl. Did you notice the Oscars started at 6 yesterday, Central Standard Time? The Oscars have never started at 6. Unless they've been starting at 6 for like 8 years. And I just haven't been watching the Oscars for 8 years because this is the first time that there was a movie that I was actually rooting for and I had an interest in. So I don't know, but they started at 6, which could have been problematic because I was not ready. When I saw the countdown appear on the channel, I thought I was tuning in for a good hour of red carpet nonsense. And what I ended up getting was countdown to the Oscars in like 3 seconds. And I'm like, what? So that was weird. Conan O'Brien was the host. Conan O'Brien came out. He's so likable. He's just such a nice guy. He doesn't do anything that offends. He's just silly and zany. Whatever that energy is, it's just so delicious. It's terrific. Nick Offerman. What a cool choice that was. See, every year the Oscars have a narrator. And it's somebody who says this is their 5th award nomination and their 2nd win. There's that guy when the people are walking up and the crowd is applauding. It had always, or at least for a long time, it was Peter Coyote. Peter Coyote is a great actor. You'd know him if you saw him, but you'd also know the voice because he's like a really great voiceover guy. I believe Peter Coyote is like one of the prime voiceover actors that Ken Burns uses. So he's got this great traditional American narrator voice. It's wonderful. But he got fired. I don't know if he got fired, but he wasn't doing it because they made Nick Offerman do it. Nick Offerman, Ron Swanson from Parks and Recreation, the greatness, otherwise known as Nick Offerman. He was so cool. And it was such a great kind of pairing of Conan O'Brien as the host and his interactions with the narrator guy who, in an improv type situation, Nick Offerman, forget about it. Nick Offerman and Conan O'Brien going back and forth off the fly. That was great. They were terrific. So that was good. What else? What else do I have? Kieran Culkin won. All right, we wanted that. I didn't see that movie. Actually, I saw the first 20 minutes of the movie. They made it to the airport. They get on the plane, and I faded after that. It's about the Holocaust, right? Or they go visit. I don't do those movies. I had this conversation with my son just the other day. We were walking the dog. He went to the Holocaust Museum. I guess there's a Holocaust Museum in Dallas. I didn't know that, but he went through school. Well, actually, his conversation, it wasn't even about. We didn't start talking about it because he wanted to tell me he went to the Holocaust Museum. He was just telling me how badass his day was because he showed up for school and totally didn't know he had a field trip. And I'm like, dude. All right, so here's how that call went with my son. He's like, hey, Dad, guess what? He's like, what? He's like, today started out awesome. I show up for school and I learn I don't have to be in class. I got a field trip. I'm like, yeah, field trip day. This is going to be awesome. And I'm like, yeah, where'd you go? And he goes, the Holocaust Museum. And I go, ooh, tough one, brother. How was it? And he's like, oh, it was really interesting. It was really interesting. But then I said to him, I go, man, I can't do that stuff. I go, I can't. I've seen it all. I'm a man. of a certain age, I in my 20s and growing up, and Holocaust movies, Schindler's List, the Holocaust miniseries. Yeah, I mean, I very familiar, endless documentaries. I'm old enough now where I understand man's cruelty to man, right? So I'm not doing any more Holocaust stuff. I know. I think my 15-year-old son should. And that's why I was glad he went there. Yeah, you go get filled up on those horrors, okay? Just so you understand what your fellow man is capable of. But, it's not like I need it. It's like, I'm done. I get it. That's why I haven't seen like 12 Years a Slave, because, that came out when I was already 40. And I'm like, yeah, I don't. God, what am I supposed to do here? I'm not seeing the movie. Can I applaud that they made them? Great that they made that movie. People should see that story. Kids should see that story. Not me. I don't need it. That stuff is ugh. So anyway, but Kieran Culkin seemed to be the kind of guy who brings an energy that isn't necessarily in line with a Holocaust concentration camp visit. And I think that's what the movie's about. So I was intrigued, but again, I only made it 20 minutes and I'm like out. But he won and he made a good speech and he told his wife that they got to have a baby. And there you go. He's such a great guy. He is, great guy. That sounds like I know him. Actor. I love him. I don't know what it is about Kieran Culkin's energy, style, default setting, but man, is it infectious. And it was so perfect in the television show Succession on HBO. I mean, that's on it. That's where I first noticed. I mean, I always knew Kieran Culkin was Macaulay Culkin's little brother, but I didn't, whatever. Oh, he's in this. They're throwing him a bone. Crushes it. And now Kieran Culkin is like one of the great actors of his generation, and look out, because he's going to get roles and he is going to be, he's got an acting style that I think his career is going to be similar to Dustin Hoffman. I think that he's going to have that kind of a career where he can play quirky characters. He can play great dramatic characters. He can do, but always bring this kind of interesting energy. Anyway, I just love him. Good for him. He won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Did you guys see the Iranian man and women? It was like a husband and wife from Iran, and they won. They won an Oscar for like Best Animated Film or something like that, and they won. And they're up on stage and they're like, this is a miracle because, we just landed at LAX 5 hours ago and we weren't sure we could get our visas out of Iran. And so it was a man and a woman from Iran standing in front of Hollywood. Hollywood has just given them an award for their struggle. This film about what you people are going through. I don't know what it's about. It's about something that the Iranian people are going through that the rest of the world should probably know about. I can't do anything on that, so maybe you can miss me. So, okay. But they won, and they get up there, and they're flustered because they can't believe they won. They can't believe they're here. They can't believe the visas went through like 12 hours earlier, and they rushed to the airport and got on a plane, and now here they are, and they're reading their speech off their phone, and the woman goes first. And she's just all flustered and kind of confused. And I thought we were going to see an Iranian man smack his wife at the Oscars. Did you guys see that? He took the phone away from in front of Hollywood. They had just given this Iranian couple who live in Iran, who are not American by any standards. They had just given them this award, this Oscar. And the man basically put baby in the corner right in front of everybody. It was amazing. Nobody said anything. It's funny. I just thought that was funny. I'm like, oh yeah, and we're about to see a culture clash here. We're about to see how Iranian men deal with their wives in high pressure situations like, I don't know, standing there at the Academy Awards winning. I thought he was going to snap. Look at that. That's kind of Japanese, but you know what I mean? Whatever he was going to do. It's crazy. He got hostile. Oh, Pugs, what are you saying about that? I'm saying that men smack their women around in that culture. And I thought we were going to see that on stage at the Oscars because he was mad at her because she wasn't reading the acceptance speech. They had it on their phones. She wasn't reading it right. And he literally snatched it out of her hand and starts going, no, you're doing it all wrong. Here we go. Jesus, women, right? Am I right, Hollywood? Huh? And then he starts reading it, and I'm like, whoa, that's the greatest fucking moment I have seen at the Oscars in years. That is funny. How's Hollywood going to process that one, I say? Well, there's a lot of hypocritical moments going on at the Oscars, and the least of which it could not possibly have been the appearance in front and center of Georgina Chapman. Oh, the gorgeous Georgina Chapman. She was probably the belle of all the post-Oscar balls last night. Did you see Georgina Chapman? Do you know who Georgina Chapman is? Georgina Chapman is probably most famous today, this morning, as the longtime girlfriend of Oscar-winning actor Adrian Brody. Adrian Brody, who won for The Brutalist. He deserved it. He was good in that. The movie sucked, but he was good. Adrian Brody, who won for The Brutalist, when he had this moment with Georgina Chapman where he didn't want to have his chewing gum in his mouth on stage when he was accepting the award. So as he gets to the steps, he turns, takes his gum out of his mouth and chucks it at Georgina, his girlfriend, who, by the way, not for nothing, here's how I know who she is. This is how I know her name. She's not famous. She's not an actress or anything. She's gorgeous. She's just like this woman who is so freaking gorgeous. And look at her. Now, why do I know who she is in the first place? Certainly there's a lot of rando gorgeous women in Hollywood. Because this woman who is sitting there being applauded and with, Adrian Brody, who's the toast of the town after winning his Oscar. And she had this funny moment where he tossed his gum to her on live TV and everybody went, ha, that's so cute. Look at her. And then the camera stuck on her and she was like, I don't know. Ha, everybody loves me. That woman was Harvey Weinstein's wife for years. He gave her when Adrian Brody is on stage saying, and my partner, my life partner, Georgina, and her 2 children. Yeah, those are Harvey Weinstein's kids. Adrian Brody's raising Harvey. And my point is this, okay? I don't mean anything against Harvey Weinstein's kids, because one thing that I do believe in is that sins of the father is not a real thing. Sins of the father. You can't blame children for some bullshit that a parent did. You just can't. That's unfair. But you can blame a wife. You can blame a wife. Sins of the father, sins of the wife, more like it. Sins of the spouse, maybe. Because this woman stayed with Harvey Weinstein for years and years and years. She was the dutiful wife. She wasn't shocked when nobody was shocked when it turned out that Weinstein was getting taken down for all the skeevy shit he's done with women over the years. That was his reputation. It was openly known about Harvey Weinstein's casting couch. Do people not even watch Entourage? There was a character in Entourage named Harvey who coincidentally looked exactly like Harvey Weinstein, who showed everyone exactly what Hollywood knew Harvey Weinstein to be. And this woman was his wife, and she produced children with him, and she stood by him knowing full well what a piece of shit he was. Don't kid yourself. She didn't know. Yes, she did. She loved being the hot smoke show wife of the most powerful producer in Hollywood. That's why she was complicit. And now last night at the Oscars, they're kissing and they're laughing and everyone's applauding her. Hollywood is nuts, man. But she should be shunned. Not his children. Not his brother. She should be shunned. She slept with that man. Maybe if she was better sleeping with that man, he wouldn't have been such an insatiable predator. But yeah, that's weird, man. Hollywood is so weird with their Anthony Anderson. They're just, you can't figure it out. What else happened at the Oscars? No, I don't want to do that. Conan did do one thing that really made me roll my eyes, but okay. Anora won everything. Okay, there you go. That's all you need to know is that Anora is a really fun film. And if you were thinking I'm just a person who has terrible taste and stuff, I feel a little bit justified because I've been telling you about Anora for 3 weeks now. Anora was the second of this year's Best Picture nominees that I'd watched, and it was the best. I watched The Substance first, and then I went right, and The Substance is great, man. The Substance is a really good movie. But The Substance is not a movie that should have been in the Best Picture category. Maybe we need a category of like the best popcorn movie or the coolest like horror or whatever. It doesn't matter. But there are sometimes really redeemable elements of movies that you think are just dismissible trash. The substance is not dismissible trash. There is a message there. There is like a real moral center to that film and a conundrum. So it's an important movie, but it's not the Brutalist. You know what I mean? Like the Brutalist is the kind of movie you expect to be there. It's big, it's long, it's boring. Nobody gets it, but everybody pretends that they did. Oh, so moving. Oh, I totally got it. Again, here's what The Brutalist was about. It's about a concentration camp guy who gets released, comes to America because he wants to be an architect. He gets hired for a project, and it takes 60 years. That's it. That's The Brutalist. It was terrible. But Anora was great. And when I saw Anora, I was like, oh, man, this is good. But I was like, I had The Brutalist up next. And I remember thinking, The Brutalist is supposed to be really good. I should probably, And then I'm like, no way, Anora is better than The Brutalist. Then came the Bob Dylan movie, which I really liked and enjoyed. But I'm like, nope, Anora is better than that. Then came Conclave, and I was stopped in my tracks. And I went, ooh, Anora's got a competition. And she's got competition because of Conclave was just a really interesting movie until the third act. There is, as I say, there is a sixth sense, like reveal, heel turn, whatever, at the in Conclave that is pretty mind-blowing. I did not see it coming. And I'm like, oh, this movie's good. This movie's good. I'm now totally blind. I got to think about this. What does this mean now that I have this information? What does this mean for the world? What does this mean for Catholicism? It was cool. It was cool. So Conclave I highly recommend it. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Anora is the best film of the year, though. I knew that early on. It was terrific. It was so nice to see Mikey Madison, who I have been a fan of Mikey Madison. Here, wait, do I have? I showed this. I think I sent this. Yeah, I can't find it. That's all right. Mikey Madison, who won for Best Actress, she was on a show on FX as like a 15-year-old kid. It was called Better Things. Pamela Adlon, who created it with Louis C.K. before Louis C.K. got canceled. And I'm telling you, the blowback from the Louis C.K. being executive producer of this show is why it's not one of the most beloved television shows in the history of TV. That's how good Better Things on FX was. But after a couple of seasons, Louis C.K. got in trouble. So everything he touched must die. So FX cut ties with Better Things. And Mikey Madison was out of work, but she played a 16-year-old girl, 15-year-old girl, something like that. Here, let me show you this clip from it. This is the first time our new Best Actress, a girl who at this age, I'm telling you, and this ain't one of these things like Mira Sorvino where she's never going to do anything. I think Mikey Madison could be a Meryl Streep type actress. She's that good. And I'm going to show you the first time I saw her. Again, she played this 15-year-old teen girl to a single mom. The single mom was Pamela Adlon. There were 3 daughters. Mikey Madison was the oldest. She was 15. And she was a total unknown. You know, when you watch a TV show and somebody's just playing the kid, you're like, yeah, whatever. She was a total unknown. But I remember going, holy fuck, who is that? Like looking up the name in the cast and going, did that kid do anything? That kid is a star. And it's really nice to like see all these years later. It's like, look, I was right when I saw her. And I said, so anyway, I want to show you this scene. Better Things. I believe it's available on Hulu. Yeah, it is. If you just, Better Things. It's a tremendous sitcom. I wouldn't even call it a sitcom. Here, I want you to see this. This is early Mikey Madison, who is now a best. Hold on, I've totally lost myself. There we go. All right, Better Things. Check this out. This was the first time I saw her, and I was like, holy shit, that kid's got something.
Yes.
I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I'm really confused. And I'm never getting into college.
Oh, honey. Yes, you are. All you need to do is all
Mom, I had to start trying to be that kind of smart a long time ago. And I have wasted so much time just being social. It's such a waste. And I look back at the last, I don't know, 3 years. I have just been a loser. Getting high. Just drama with my friends. And I am just now starting to realize that I am going to be like 18 in 2 years. And it's like, I already blew it. That's how it feels.
You know, honey, I felt exactly like that when I was your age. And when I was 20. And this morning.
Right? And now she runs her own company, so.
I'm going to let you in on a big fat secret that we all know about life, and that is that you don't ever figure it out, and you're always behind, and it's kind of always unfair, frankly, right? So, you know, you're on schedule.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh,
We've got to make it right, come on.
Hey, so why'd you bring me to go shopping for your clothes?
Come on. Come on, let me see. Just come on, let me see. Come here. Listen, baby, your future is yours. You can be anything you want. You know those people that you see every day that look like they have their shit together and they made all the right choices, and how impossible it seems just to get to that place? Well, look at you. You look like one of those people. And all they did was put on the clothes. And honey, you can be anything you want to be. Seriously, but also, if you just get a job and get by, you're still going to love your life. Because life is good, even at its worst.
You came here just to say that to me?
Why? Was it shitty? I thought it was going to be good. It wasn't shitty. You liked it. I love you. I love you too.
All right, there you go. That's the first time we all saw Mikey Madison, the newest member of the Academy Awards list of Best Actress. She's a tremendous young actress, man, and she just. I mean, I don't know how the movie Anora would have been as good if the character of Anora wasn't as obviously complicated as the way she played it. So that's terrific. Better Things. It's on FX. It's not just her. It's not just for her. That show, Better Things, is one of the best written shows. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say other than another example of, the left overcorrecting because 20 years ago, Louis C.K. pulled his dick out at a party. So now Better Things can't be a show anymore because he's the executive producer of it. That's who we were. And I say were because the only I shouldn't say it like that, but the only thing that I am truly looking forward to about how we behave as people is that we're going to go back to a world that doesn't overcorrect so that we can get clicks. Oh, look at what we did. Look at this. Stop it. Anyway, better things. Mikey Madison, good for her. The Oscars, it was just all the night of Anora. What else? Do I have anything else? Any other thoughts? Mick Jagger was there. Elton John was there. Bob Dylan wasn't. What was the joke? Conan had a great joke about Bob Dylan that is just perfect for Bob Dylan. He said Bob Dylan wanted to be here, but not that much. That's perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Dylan wanted to be here tonight, but not that much. What else did we have? Who did I think looked really good? Oh, that's okay. See, I'm a guy. I'm a heterosexual guy. I'm single. I'm allowed to look at women and go, okay, now. All right, so here were my top three. These were the three that I thought looked the best. Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez is just so pretty, and she just looks so glamorous and sophisticated and clean and just, oh my God. The big giant doe eyes. She's so cute. She looked beautiful. Selena Gomez looked great. The aforementioned Georgina Chapman, the former Mrs. Harvey Weinstein. She is so beautiful. She's now Adrian Brody's. Like they've lived together for 4 years. It was like immediately, Georgina Chapman, even when she was married to Harvey, she must have been, I'll tell you, man, if you got the contract to clean the pool at the Weinstein house, you were having some pretty good sex with Georgina Chapman, because I imagine she was just running around on Harvey Weinstein, because he's like homeless body odor grimace. And then she's like, holy crap. Did you see her last night on the arm of Adrian Brody? Georgina Chapman, not a famous actress, not a model, but wow. Wow. All right. Maybe she is a model. She's probably a model. Now that I think about it, she was probably a model when Weinstein didn't, she wasn't working at the bank, and Weinstein was like, you're kind of cute. Nah, she was probably a model, and she was probably a famous model. I just didn't know who she was. But anyway, Georgina Chapman is number 2 on my list of women who looked the best last night. Number 3 on my list of women who looked the best last night at the Oscars, Demi Moore. Even in defeat, I am still a Demi Moore guy. And I don't care. My former love, remember I told you about, the women I've been obsessed with, the celebrity. I've always had like a celebrity that I was obsessed with. I don't know who that is just right now. Maybe we'll work through that. Maybe that's a video unto itself. Pugs figures out what chick he's obsessed with this time. And not stalky obsessed. Just like, okay, that's kind of my perfect female at the moment. It started with Jacqueline Smith and Charlie's Angels. We got some Bo Derek in there. Who else? Of course, Demi Moore. Demi Moore in the 80s. Like, oh my God, did I have a crush on Demi Moore? Then came Winona Ryder in the early 90s. Oh, God. See, I'm not like a Pam Anderson guy. Right? Tia Leone. Oh my God, I really like Tia Leone. She was a big one for me. I don't know who it is now. You know what it might be? You know who it might be? Seriously? You know who the latest incarnation of that for me? Remember when I was a kid, it was Demi Moore and then Winona Ryder, and before that, Bo Derek and all that. I've always had one that I'm like, oh, it's my favorite. You know who I think it is now? And I'm going to say this with a straight face, and you better not laugh at me. Connie Britton. Oh, I am on Team Connie Britton. I love her. I don't even like redheads. I mean, my mom's a redhead. That's why you understand. I'm typically, traditionally not attracted to redheads, but Connie Britton. And that's good for me because she's my own speed. She's actually older than me, I believe, and still doing okay. Where did I see her lately? I saw her recently, and I'm like, yep, Connie Britton. Oh, if you don't know who Connie Britton is, Tammy Taylor, Coach Taylor's wife in Friday Night Lights. Nashville, right? She was on that show Nashville. She played the Reba character. I don't know. I love her. Those are your top 3 from the Oscars, as far as I'm concerned. A single middle-aged white man who hasn't had any kind of a relationship with anyone since before the pandemic. Selena Gomez, Georgina Chapman, and Demi Moore. There you go. I did think that there was one really great Conan bit that they didn't allow to truly become legendary. Conan writes sketches. They should have just let Conan do his sketches. I know everybody was worried about time and things were getting cut left and right. Conan did a bit in the middle of the Oscars that was genius because Conan is a nice guy. Everybody wants a Ricky Gervais type. Everybody wants an angry person to host these award shows. And there was a lot of pressure on Conan to not be who Conan is. Conan isn't going to come out and do Ricky Gervais type jokes. He's not. Conan's going to come out. He's going to do Conan type jokes. And we're all going to like Conan. And they're going to be funny because they're silly. His jokes are silly. They make you laugh because they're clever and silly. And we're not laughing at someone else's extent because, they're going through a scandal now. That's funny. That's not his style. So he was in a bit of a conundrum as the host where people were expecting a certain kind of thing, and maybe that's what we do now. So the genius bit idea that Conan O'Brien and whoever he had writing with him for the Oscars last night came up with was they brought out the Los Angeles County Fire Department. They brought out all of these firemen. And he did this story. He's like, these are the heroes that saved all of your homes. All of the celebrities who live in Malibu and along the coast and in the Palisades, putting all of this pressure on all of these celebrities to really give it up for these heroes who you owe everything to. And then he had the firemen read slam jokes on celebrities. And it was brilliant. But he only did 2. And I'm telling you, I promise you, they probably had a dozen killer Ricky Gervais caliber jokes that they wanted random firemen to read about, whomever, Brad Pitt or what, slam jokes. And it was a great opportunity because they can get away with it. Oh, what's the, I've had it with you, firemen. No, it was brilliant. It would have been such a great moment. But I believe my thought is just knowing how, people write sketches and put that stuff together. My thought on that whole thing is that it was cut for time. I think that they probably intended for that to be a little bit longer. But no, we had to have, the Persian guy almost get into a fist fight with his wife on stage. That went on too long. Oh, Adam, what's going on with Adam? All right. So here we go. We'll take a quick break here. Let's see here. Adam really wants attention. Is there something good going on? Is Adam trying to distract me with this? Louis C.K. got Louis canceled in November of 2017. So a good 4+ years. Better Things was canceled, but it's all because of Louis C.K. Yes, it is. It is because of Louis C.K. They wanted to distance themselves from all the projects that he was involved in. It is. I'm sorry, Adam. I know that. See, there's a difference between, just going with what the statistics say without truly examining what the culture of the time was. Louis C.K. was persona non grata on that show. They didn't want to be associated with anything that he was doing. So, I mean, I don't know why you're trying to defend. Why is this a hill that you've decided that you want to be the defender of? I really don't. That's a strange thing. That's a strange. KB says he loves Better Things. Says you turned me on to that show years ago. Oh, Kevin, was that a show when I used to do the watch list show? My good pal Andy and my late great sadly departed friend Gary used to do a podcast for a period of time. Called it The Watch List. I want to bring it back. Thinking about bringing it back now here as a daily thing. Did we cover it there? I'm stalling because I want to see if that's where, because I don't know, because I'd like to go back and listen to that now. That would be interesting because we went hard on, I know American Gothic was one we were really big on. That was one that we were back then. Why is Adam fighting on this hill? Why is this important to him? Here's why. because he mines for self-adulation. He's a confident guy, but he's also got some insecurities. And he needs to supplement, he needs more confidence over the insecurity. So how does he compile this confidence? He wins minor micro arguments, and he fights over little tiny things. And that's all. That's what his therapist would tell him. Just say, you're an incredible dude, man. You don't need to do that. This whole, you need to be right about these things. This is you generating it because you were told at some point that you weren't worthy. And that was wrong. And you are now totally worthy. You are a father. You have kids. You've got a wife that loves you. You've got a pretty good life. You are a hardworking American citizen. You don't need these micro victories to make you feel better about who you are. Thank you. There you go. Check is in the mail. Free advice. Okay, there we go. And look, I stalled and ranted long enough on Adam's psychological state that Kevin was able to respond with. Yeah, that was on the watch list. Okay, there you go. Do I want to go back with Adam? Lifestyle. We are a lifestyle show. Yeah, and I love Adam. I don't have insecurities like that. I want you to improve. Oh, do you not see how you're not supposed to say that to people? Do you not see that? That's what I mean. I want you to improve. Well, with all due respect that I like you, Adam, and I would take your advice in private. If you wanted to I would take your advice in private because you're a friend. But do you see the publicly saying, I want you to improve? You're putting out there for other strangers to read that you might be somebody who knows more than me. Oh, come on, man. See, this is what has happened. This kind of communication is what has occurred. 15 years of social media shit talk and trying to win your fights. So let's just move on. We're all good. All right, let's go. What else do we have here? Let's see. I got no other comments on the Oscars other than the Brutalist. Don't waste your time. See Anora. See Conclave. See the Bob Dylan movie. I feel like maybe I don't give that enough love. That was a really interesting movie. I really liked that, and Chalamet was really good. The girl who played Joan Baez was nominated for Best Actress. Or even Best Supporting Actress? I think it was Actress. All right, we got breaking Pope news. Pope Francis has suffered an acute respiratory insufficiency. He has been placed back on a ventilator. Was he off? Is he on, off, on, off? All right. We'll get you covered. We'll get you covered with all the breaking Pope news. Let's go local. This is something maybe Adam and I will come back together on this one. Did you guys see what happened down there at the convention center on Saturday afternoon? Now, I don't know what the fine, we're going to learn this together, but on Saturday afternoon, I'm sitting, at my house in Highland Park, and all of a sudden the Dallas police scanner starts going, blah, 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 starts going nuts. And they're reporting over the police scanner, mass casualty event, active shooter on the loose at Dallas Convention Center. These are all the early police scanner calls. When I say these things, I'm not just imagining what's happening or listening to some media or some, these are the police radio calls that I'm saying, this is what I'm hearing. So mass casualty events, all units, what do they call it? A Circle 9. This is a Circle 9 event, which means in the police radio world, something to the effect of everybody who is working right now, pay attention. Okay, even parking meter readers. Parking meter readers, Circle 9 means you get to this location because you're doing traffic control, because we're closing down streets. So it was big. It was very big. The Dallas police response was what I would feel secure expecting if something like this was being reported at the Dallas Convention Center. So what ended up happening at the old Kay Bailey Hutchinson Center down there at the Omni Hotel? Well, there was the National Cheerleader Championships being held. Cheerleaders. and their parents. You get it, don't you? Yeah, two parents of cheerleaders started beefing in a crowd of like 10,000 people. Somebody, he's got a gun. That's what I heard. That was the last thing that I heard. No shots were fired. No, nothing. But here's the problem. And this is why they weren't incorrect when they said it was a mass casualty event. Although, let's check out the details now. It was 10,000 people stampeding all at once through the convention center. There were people with broken bones. There was a 10-year-old that was being treated for an injury to his leg at the corner of Lamar and something. I don't know. I want to see what the latest is, though, on this story. Oh, we have some video. Yeah, maybe I'll show you that. Some video from the moment. All right, so this is what was going on at a cheerleader convention, or a cheerleader competition. And I think it's little kids, too. I mean, I saw what I was looking at. There were like some older cheerleaders, but also some tiny little ones. Here we go. Look at this. Look at that. That's America. That's the America we live in. A bunch of little 10-year-old girls in their local Pop Warner cheerleader outfits running from perceived gunfire. What's this, a drone shot? So it was looking like, in the early moments here, it was looking like we had something to pay attention to. I was getting ready to come down here to the studio. What's going on? Look at that. They're all in cheerleader outfits. This is... all right, there you go. All right. So let's see. What is the latest on the cheerleader story? Let's see here. 1 day ago. All right, here we go. This seems to be the latest. Cheer competition evacuated after fight among parents. Not a shooting. Led to massive police response at Dallas Convention Center. We don't need that sound. Where's that coming from? I hate this. Oh, it's coming from there.
It just blew out. And then somebody kept saying there's a gun, and the cops kept saying, no, there's no gun. But they said there's a gun, there's a shooter.
Chaos in downtown Dallas yesterday. Cheerleaders and their families ran for their lives, thinking there was an active shooter inside the Kay Bailey Hutchison Convention Center. Thousands of cheerleaders from across the country.
It just blew out.
Sorry, I'm trying to cue something up. I just wanted to make sure, because you know how they sneak in like these pop-ups that or ads that look like they're the story you're so I just wanted to make sure it was, and it is. This is from WFAA, of course, here in Dallas, Fort Worth. Here, let's watch this.
And then somebody kept saying there's a gun, it just blew out. And then somebody kept saying there's a gun, and the cops kept saying no, there's no gun, but they said there's a gun, there's a shooter.
Chaos in downtown Dallas yesterday. Cheerleaders and their families ran for their lives, thinking there was an active shooter inside the Kay Bailey Hutchison Convention Center. Thousands of cheerleaders from across the country are in town for the NCAA All-Star National Championships. Some of them even took cover right outside our WFAA studio lobby. Police confirmed shortly after there was no shooter. The NCAA canceled yesterday's events after the incident. Some of those canceled events were scheduled late into the night. Today is supposed to be the final day of the championship. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chris Sadeghi, and we want to start with the latest on that situation that caused so much panic in downtown. Our reporter Janelle Fort is live at the convention center where the event will go on this morning. And Janelle, it was such a chaotic scene yesterday. A lot of fear, a lot of crying. What are you seeing and hearing as those cheerleading teams arrive this morning?
Well, Chris, you know, the challenge is moving forward. I spent the morning speaking with family after family who told me that the memories of the chaos yesterday is still very fresh. In fact, they told me that a lot of the squads that are here today will be competing without members of the team. During this morning, we saw teams out here on this grass right here behind me in front of the convention center practicing and reworking routines to make up for those missing teammates. So a lot of moving parts this morning. We did reach out to the RCA, that's the organization that organizes this competition. They say they've been working with police to make sure that everything is safe. We're waiting to hear back from them about updates to the competition this morning. But less than 24 hours ago, this place, again, was pure panic. Thousands of cheerleaders and their families running, screaming, and even taking cover. Some of them right outside of our WFA studio. So here's the latest information we have about what happened. Dallas police say this all started with a fight between two people inside the convention center. That fight knocked over several poles, and when that loud crash echoed through the building, people were convinced that it was gunfire. That's when panic set in, families rushed out, some got separated, others were injured in the chaos. Police say based on their investigation, no shots were fired. As of this morning, no arrests have been made. Now the focus shifts back to the competition. Event organizers paused everything yesterday, more than half of the schedule, but they've worked with police to ensure safety as teams return
we got
today
all we need to
for
know
what's
about
supposed-
that. There you go. That happened on Saturday. I mean, that's the climate we live in. I could totally see that happening. You know, packed in, a whole bunch of people. They're having fun. They're jazzed up. Music is playing. And then you hear bang, bang, you know, and then everybody turns on and there's people screaming over there because they're fighting. Oh, no. How do you process that as a normal, rational mind in a big, crowded room in 2025? I think you rationally process that by time to go. It's terrible. That's terrible. That's who we are. All right, that was Saturday. I don't know. I have no idea who won. We got a SpaceX launch going off today. It's supposed to go off at 5:30. I might still be around here because I got a bunch of things I got to record today. I got to do that stuff. A bunch of things. So SpaceX, there you go. We'll see. Now, actually, I'm going to be tuned in for this, and if I am still here in the studio, then I'll cover it live. I'll jump on and we can all watch it together. It's interesting because this is the big Falcon rocket. The last one blew up real good, and you know, I don't take any joy. You know, I think Elon Musk is a dork, right? Like, you know, his Doge stuff. I think that's all. Why is he acting like such a weirdo? But it's space stuff. I'm right in line behind him. I'm like, you are my leader, man. Let's go to Mars. But can we just focus on Mars and cars? You can still focus on the Tesla, but Tesla and Mars. Let's just stay there. You kooky genius or whatever you are. I don't know, but you're getting things done, at least in that arena. So it could blow up again. We don't know. We got to see. I want it to succeed. We need this rocket to work, and we need it to not blow it up real good like it did last time. So that's tonight at 5:30. If I'm still here, I'll jump in. So like, follow, subscribe, and all that stuff so you get the alert, and we'll go from there. Kanye West is running around Los Angeles, doubling down on the whole Nazi thing. He's wearing a swastika shirt here. You got to see this. I don't know what's happening here. And then he's posting about it. Is this a video? Is this going to be a video of him? If you thought Kanye West couldn't shock us anymore with his Nazi-loving opinions, think again. He was spotted wearing one of the swastika T-shirts that he was selling on his website before it went dark. Check out the video. The rapper was dressed in the Nazi shirt while out in L.A. chatting with a group of guys. He then noticed the camera and made sure to stroll farther into the frame, ensuring a full, uninterrupted view of him and the shirt. It's a disturbing sight. No, not anymore. It's Kanye's done. It's not disturbing anymore. What Kanye wearing a Nazi shirt is still disturbing to you? You need to toughen up. Come on. It's 2020. It's not disturbing. What is disturbing is that for some reason that I can't understand, he seems to be attempting to normalize the acceptance of that symbol. And I don't know if that's a good thing, but I will say this: isn't there also a world where the normalization of the swastika demystifies its power? I mean, if swastikas just become swastikas have not always been what they are today. If you watch television of the 1950s, 60s, even into the 1970s and 80s, you were allowed to go on TV and pretend to be a Nazi. You were allowed to joke about Nazisms and Hitler. It's only been within the last 15 years or so. It's only been, 20 years maybe, where this sort of moral crusading on the part of the left has dominated what, society, puts pressures on us to do. And that's when, It's like blackface. Do you know why they keep finding pictures of people in blackface from the 1980s and 1970s? Because it was demystified. Because it wasn't something that people freaked out about. When it all, actually, I do remember when it changed. It changed when Ted Danson went on the Whoopi Goldberg roast wearing blackface. He was a very big star. And obviously, being in tune with the climate of the time, neither he nor Whoopi thought that that would be that big of a problem. And then the amassed media at the time began that whole moral crusading era. Ted Danson should never work again. Look at what he did. And then, you ever seen the early Johnny Carson as Kreskin? I mean, it had no power. Because we mocked it and made fun of it and it was silly and we laughed at it. It had no power. So, I mean, that's maybe the 3D chess version of what's inside Kanye's mind. Like the N-word. Saturday Night Live, and not its first episode. People mistakenly think that it was in its first episode. Saturday Night Live, very early on, I think it was episode 3 or something when Richard Pryor hosted. They were perfectly comfortable on television saying the N-word in a sketch that was obvious social satire about the hiring practices in America at the time. It was a job interview being conducted by Chevy Chase and Richard Pryor. And they began to do word association. They became more and more hostile. See the social satire? The message they were saying at the time is this is what it's like for a black guy trying to get a job in corporate America in 1975. That message was supposed to have been carried through by the incredible comedic performances of both Chevy Chase and Richard Pryor. But this is also around the time that we all started to realize that the average American is fucking stupid. And the message doesn't get through. But for a few people who are like, oh, they did that well. That was really good satire. And then as we progressed, not only did it not get through, but just the very admission that this thing is possible or has occurred or that there was a Holocaust or that black people were enslaved and that this is a word that's been used. See, it seems like, and by the way, let me make, I'm not advocating that we all start saying the N-word. I'm pretty comfortable with where that rests in my vernacular, which is, it's a word I acknowledge and know is out there, but it's not one that's, on deck. It's, it's not game day ready. It is not, it doesn't get, the N-word in my vernacular does not get a uniform on game day. So maybe that's what Kanye's doing. Maybe Kanye is just playing 3D chess. I'll tell you, my loyalty to my South Side geniuses just knows no bound because I can't believe it's obviously despicable. Here, let's watch this. There is actually video of Kanye walking around, so let's watch what he's doing. What, hold on, do I need to read? I want the video, TMZ. Help me out. There it is. Okay. I started ranting for so long that the video had to recue. Oh, look at this. Now we got these wonderful people. Can I skip? Let me skip. There. Oh, add a pop-up, right? More money, more money, more money. Everybody needs to make their money.
Really happy that.
All right. How long are we going to watch this commercial for?
We can do things with them. With Mochi Health.
Mochi? Isn't mochi frozen Japanese ice cream? Mochi's good. Or is that mochi? I don't know what it is. All right, here we go. Kanye. There he is. Look at that. All right, he just spotted the camera. Uncrush her. What is he doing? What is he hanging out with homeless people? What is Kanye doing here? Okay, here he comes now. He wants to make sure that the camera can now see him perfectly. Normalize the public acceptance of Nazism and Nazi. I don't know, man. All right, Kanye. Okay, you kook, you crazy. I'm always supposed to do with that. I like his music. I'm still gonna listen to Gold Digger. You know, I like Kanye. I'm sorry. Stronger is amazing. Jesus Walks is amazing. I don't know, man. I like Michael Jackson too. What can I tell you? I have my doubts about the caliber of human being that he was as well. So let's just separate the art from the artist. That's what I always say. Adam, let's go. Adam, let's go. We'll play in the chat room for a little bit. Hold on. I got to get my chat room all. Is Adam still arguing? I haven't read this. Is Adam still arguing about the other thing? Look at what Seth Rogen, Cat Williams, and other smarter people about comedy than us have said about satire and comedy lately. Nothing's changed. It may be harder to do now, but what's wrong? What? Okay, you know what? I'm sorry. This is me clearing the chamber, right? Because, you know, I'm like, I just now, because of the past, you know, interaction, I'm like geared up. I'm walking you through the way therapy works and the way my brain now works. So I'm geared up now to expect Adam to be aggressive. So I shouldn't. I should just, because this is actually interesting what he says here. He says, look at what Seth Rogen, Cat Williams, and other smarter people about comedy than us. I don't know if that's true. Why would you say that? What, they watch and laugh better? I wouldn't say that any of those people are smarter about comedy than me. I mean, I can't speak for you, but I certainly wouldn't say that Cat Williams or Seth Rogen are definitely smarter about comedy than me. How are you smart? How can you be smart about comedy? First of all, that's what I'd like to know. But anyway, you know, hey, okay, granted. But again, do you see the choice? Do you see the aggressive choice that Adam is making there? He wants to start out by saying, you're not that good. And so that's how he says it in like this really passive aggressive, semi-socially acceptable way. But let's continue. Look at what Seth Rogen, Cat Williams, and other smarter people about comedy than us have said about satire and comedy lately. Nothing's changed. It's maybe harder to do now, but what's wrong with that? He's absolutely right. Yeah, no, I agree with those. I agree with those things. That's absolutely what I said. I'm not saying that you can't do satire at a high level now. What I'm saying is that it's becoming easier because satirists had targets on their backs, and there are less targets on the backs of working satirists. But satire is not hard to do. There are plenty of really clever, interesting people doing satire, but a lot of them, you know, had, as I say, targets on their back relentlessly. The creatives, man. I mean, the greats, knock on wood, you hope, will always rise to the top and break through regardless of attempts to silence them. Which brings us to Shane Gillis. Let's talk about Saturday Night Live, shall we? Thank you, Adam, for making that transition so well. Adam, the de facto producer of today's show. Ain't that right, Jamie? Oh, I'm sorry. What's going on, Frank? I got Frank on here. Turn on camera, and he shall appear. I don't know what that's about. All right. Did you guys see Saturday Night Live on Saturday? It was a very interesting episode. It was, my headphone just went out and then it went back in. That was weird. It was an interesting episode. I think it was a monumental episode. Unfortunately, I can't really talk about that on this stream because I've got something that I've got to do. So here's what we're going to do. I have to do at 3:00. I just can't. I don't want to do just like a little roundabout thing on what occurred on Saturday Night Live on Saturday that I thought was so momentous. Now, what do I know? I haven't conferred with Cat Williams or Seth Rogen, but what I saw, and from privately talking to a comedian friend of mine, because I posted something and then he DM'd me and we were really getting into it. It was pretty excellent. I'm going to do a full standalone Shane Gillis thing, rant on that later this evening, later today. So like, follow, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff, because I really want to get into it and I want to dig into what was going on there. But I'll say this. Do you know how much admiration you get from the rest of the comedy world when you decide on live TV in a massive moment like that? Yeah, you're back hosting a show that, you know, gave into canceling of you for an incredibly dumb reason. You have since gone on to be a really big and important star in the comedy scene in America. Bud Light ain't afraid of you. Bud Light should be afraid of everything, right? Bud Light has signed you to a $10 million a year deal to be the guy that makes people want to drink Bud Light again. You're an important dude, Shane Gillis. And Saturday Night Live, he should have gone up there and chosen as his monologue some of his greatest hits. You know, his girlfriend's ex is a Navy SEAL. That's a great bit. How about life growing up in a family full of mentally challenged people? That's his reality. He grew up in a house full of people with Down syndrome, and he's awesome on that subject. Incredible, very funny, but also deeply loving. And, you know, but people have a problem with that, his actual life experience and how he processes it, because that's mean. So anyway, Shane Gillis has all this stuff. He has succeeded beyond his wildest dreams in the world of comedy, in spite or despite the fact that his career they tried to end his career before it started. If you don't know a story, he was cast on Saturday Night Live by Lorne Michaels after he broke out at the Toronto Just for Laughs festival. He wowed that place, came out of nowhere, came out of the clubs in freaking Pennsylvania, not even Philly, like Braddock, Pennsylvania or something like that. I don't know. Fetterman country. And he won the Toronto Film Festival. Lorne Michaels went, oh my God, he's one of them. So he named him to the new cast as a cast member, not even as a writer. No. See, you understand how Saturday Night Live works. I'll give you an example. Bowen Yang had to be a writer for 2 years before they made Bowen Yang someone they'd put on camera. Shane Gillis, with absolutely zero credits to his name other than slaying the Toronto Film Festival, was handpicked by Lorne Michaels to be a direct-to-stage cast member. Main stage, main cast, not and featuring. No, he was an amazing overnight success story for this very funny young man. And then they found some podcasts that he had done a few years earlier where, oh my God, you know what he did? He made a Chinese accent. And he also used the term fag. He used the term chink. And he also, whatever it was from years earlier, from a podcast. And of course, the media ran with, he's a racist. Listen to this new Saturday Night Live cast member. He's a racist. Context not mattering for fucking anything with these people. He was doing a character. The context of that bit was it was a conversation about Chinatown in New York in the 1940s. He was channeling a white landlord dealing with Chinese immigrants in the 1940s. He was playing a character. It was improv. It was art. It was fucking satire, because his point was, look at how much these people had to put up with, but it cost him his career. Saturday Night Live embarrassed him. Coast to coast. NBC supposedly forced Lorne Michaels. Lorne Michaels now says, I was forced. I wanted him. He was my guy, but it was the climate of the time, and I just couldn't fight with NBC. So Shane Gillis destroyed. Despite that, he's now Shane Gillis. He's now one of the most influential, and this is why he was a hero. And again, I'm going to go more in depth in why every other comedian in America is like, holy fuck, that was legendary. Because in this great moment of redemption on this stage, the first show after the 50th on live American TV, he went up there and did 100% new untested material and gloriously bombed in front of a hostile crowd with good fucking material. That material was good. That material was hysterical. Me and my son were like, oh, this is so brave. He's like, he's fucking fearless. That's what we love about him. New material that was absolutely shocking for the room. He knows that room. The Saturday Night Live room are all people who are connected in New York City. They are all, they're all friends with Lorne, or, Lorne's friend's mailman's daughter-in-law from out of town will be in New York. Can you get her some tickets? It's a different kind of crowd. It's certainly not, it's not people like me who fucking love Shane Gillis's worldview. No, it's different people. And he knew that. And in this moment, the first show, he just went and did new material and was like, fuck it. I'm a comedian, man. I hope these assholes like it. And it was brilliant. So we're going to do a whole different thing where we'll play it. We'll break it down. We'll laugh about it. And what I really want to get into is the significance of Shane Gillis being the first host. And Lorne Michaels' very public defenses of him over the last couple of years as saying, look, that was NBC. Different people are in charge of NBC now. I would have stood by him. I couldn't. It was for the show, So Lorne and Shane are good. That's why Shane is now hosted 3 times. But Lorne knew what he was doing. First show after the 50th anniversary, the first show of Saturday Night Live, the first show ever was hosted by George Carlin. Saturday Night Live for the first couple of years was edgy as fuck, man. Like I said, episode 3, Richard Pryor, Chevy Chase, they're dropping N-words at each other on live TV. Lorne knows he needs the edge back. So what did he do? He had Shane Gillis host the first episode with some of the, first of all, edgiest monologue material. Lorne said, just do it, Shane. Just do be you. He just did that. And then every single sketch Shane Gillis was in. Why? Because he's one of the great sketch performers, which is why Lorne was like, we need this kid. He's one of the great sketch performers out there working now. He's like Phil Hartman-esque with the way he's able to play different everyman characters. He's almost perfect. And you can't take your eyes off him because in sketches, he's also got the Belushi quality where something's coming here, something big. Lorne Michaels knew what he was doing. Lorne Michaels wanted to tell the entertainment industry, whatever, I don't care who won in November, Saturday Night Live wants its edge back. And all of those sketches on Saturday were Shane Gillis sketches. You could just tell they had Shane Gillis writing all over it. The dude that busts into the wedding, the ex-boyfriend of the bride who is trying to cash in on a coupon, a hand job coupon that she gave him for Valentine's Day like 5 years. That is Shane Gillis. That is Shane Gillis humor. And that's fucking edgy. That is really edgy, especially since the guy who was the groom pulled out a coupon she had given him for butt stuff, right? I mean, there were a number of other things that were really edgy. It was good. It was, look, they didn't all hit. They weren't all great, but they were obviously more influenced by the sensibility that Lorne Michaels first had in the very early days of Saturday Night Live and the way that people like Shane Gillis are performing in comedy spaces in 2025, and less the way Bowen Yang is. And less the way, just less of that. All right, so I'm going to do a full thing, but I've got a meeting here. It's all right. They're not here yet. Please, folks, if you can, help tip the show. If you appreciate this kind of talk radio, it happens every day and has happened every day for the past, since 2021. I think that's 4 years. We're going into our 4th year. It is Pledge Week. We need to raise $50 per show. So who's got today? Who is it? What are you guys? I don't know. I like it when a bunch of you combine together. But, some of you have stepped up and taken care of one day at a time. It's Monday, Pledge Week. I love you. We'll see you back here tomorrow at noon, okay? It is live. Me, Pugs, The Rant, RadioMisfits.com, Kelly Moore Memorial Studio, the E-Gallery. Back tomorrow at noon. Bye.